Hello and welcome to Shredded Cels, episode 19. I am your host, Alex Schmitz, and with me here today is Jeremy Zajac.
Oh God, Alex.
What?
I can see forever.
Uh-oh. Jeremy's out of it today, I'm afraid, listeners. He said he hasn't gotten a wink of sleep in over a day.
How much caffeine have you had?
Enough that I'm actually seriously concerned about heart palpitations.
Wow.
Fair enough.
So the hospital, we have an ambulance on hand in case Jeremy collapses in the midst of this podcast. Don't you
None
guys
of us
worry.
are strong enough to carry him out there.
Ouch.
No, that's
Jeez.
that's
When I die, you stay away from my funeral.
All right, and we also have Chris Flake here,
Hey guys.
Andrew Gleason,
Hey, what's up?
and Clara Heimberger.
Hi.
All right. So if you guys listened to our podcast from last week, you know that today we're going to be talking about various shows from our childhood, from the 90s into the early 2000s. And for those of us who haven't listened to the most recent episode, we are a group that's part of Tech Heads, which is a video game, movie, media student organization on campus here at Ohio University, which is also part of AVW, a larger conglomerate of various shows, including Tech Heads, that's here on campus. And this is the anime podcast that we'll be talking about today. But we're not talking about anime today. It's just going to be animation. So why don't we talk about what animation everyone has watched since last week? Jeremy, have you seen anything?
Actually, yes. I've been rewatching Megas XLR.
Oh, in preparation for the podcast?
No, just because I felt like rewatching it.
Well, that's okay, too.
But please, I don't care enough that much about your podcast, Alex.
Aw, now you're making me feel bad.
Good.
Don't worry, I care about your podcast.
No, she doesn't.
We
She's
like
lying.
your podcasts.
Some people care, Jeremy.
No, they don't. They're lying
Wait,
through
don't we
their
have
teeth.
a fan?
Yeah, well, we have at least one fan.
It was super awesome.
Please notice the
Exactly.
singular on that.
Well, at least one fan that's not related to us. Like, my sisters listen to us, so do my parents and things. So we have multiple fans out
Parents
there.
and things.
See, parents and things.
Yes, parents and things.
Things.
The dog listens too.
Oh, good.
What else? I watched something else, but I can't remember what it is now. It's some show on Toonami. I can't remember. It's definitely a mid '80s anime.
Oh yeah.
It's ugly, but it's like it's that stupid sort of entertaining.
I'm trying to remember because Matt was showing me there's a show that's on Toonami now, and I don't remember the name of it.
Galaxy Police or something like that.
I don't know.
I can't think of the
That
name of
wasn't
it.
But so some Toonami show. That's all we know.
But yeah, it's not Inuyasha.
There was
I will
yeah.
not. I will not sit another 800 episodes for Inuyasha.
Yeah, I've heard bad things about Inuyasha in general,
It's like Dragon Ball Z, except the plot moves even slower.
which is
impressive.
saying something. Chris, have you been watching anything?
No. The only thing I have watched is the Star Wars, the Clone Wars, the 3D version of it, I guess.
Oh yeah, have you enjoyed that?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't really gone very far, so I think it's like episode 7, and then I just kind of stopped.
Yeah, well, from what I understand, I haven't watched too much of the show, but it gets better as it goes. Like the early seasons aren't as good as the more recent one. What?
Early season.
Oh, well, even season 2 is.
I don't know. I'd say even maybe a fourth of the way through season 2, that show really picks up.
Isn't there season 3 and 4?
Yeah, well, they're on season 5 now.
Oh.
Like, what's on is season 5 now. People are theorizing that they'll do one more season and then it'll be done. Because they've talked about well, there's that, but they've talked about wrapping up, the story and getting to what Ahsoka's fate is, who's obviously the character created specifically for their show.
The Dark Lord Mickey Mouse will have her dead.
Oh, no.
I certainly hope that they had all of that planned before the Disney Lucasfilm takeover.
He will swallow her orange soul.
Oh, good Lord.
You do a pretty good Mickey Mouse, I have to say.
It's pretty terrible.
That's interesting.
It's decent at least. Andrew, what have you been watching?
The only thing animation-wise I've been watching is my friend has continued to show me Gurren Lagann.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Where are you in it now?
We just met. Oh God, it's been like a few days since I actually watched it.
Are you before or after the time skip?
Before.
Yeah.
I'm definitely
I don't count that as a spoiler.
All right.
I don't count that as a spoiler.
Well, no, it's not a spoiler.
Okay, I don't want to say spoilers, but I'm after
I don't think it.
the as my friend describes it, the point where many people stop watching the show.
After
he.
Spoilers. For anybody who hasn't watched Gurren Lagann, you can skip about 30 seconds ahead in the episode. Now, yeah, you're talking about Kamina's death.
Yeah, Kamina's death. And then he found the girl in the chasm full of other boxes, and that was like it. And he's starting to get better and be less emo and murder less people, so that's nice.
Yeah, actually, that's one thing I actually like about Gurren Lagann compared to other shows is, it's okay for you to have a protagonist who goes through a phase of emo-ness, and being depressed and all that, but then eventually he comes out of it, and when he does, he's stronger than he was before. That's like character growth.
Exactly, and they didn't spend too long on it. They spent like an episode and a half on him being all emo and depressed. And
character growth in my 26 episode show, it's more common than you think.
Well, I was specifically thinking about a show like Evangelion, where Shinji is just basically...
No, Shinji has negative character growth. He is actually less developed as the show goes on.
He regresses.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. The Matt and Kenny aren't on here, so we can rag on Ava all we want.
Kenny wanted to be on the podcast.
I know, well, we only have 5
It would have been a
mics.
better show if Shinji wasn't such a whiny little dink.
Yeah, he was kind of whiny, like a lot whiny, a lot.
A lot.
A lot
whiny.
a lot whining.
Whiny
So
a
much
lot?
wine.
So much whining.
Like some cheese with your wine. I'm
I
done.
can't do it. Oh, shut up.
All right. Anything else interesting, Andrew?
No, not really. Nothing animation-wise.
All right. Clara?
I haven't had a lot of time to watch things because I've had a speech and like 3 papers to write, but I've been watching a little bit of YouTube and the Yogscast series because I've loved the Yogscast and I've been watching them play Tekkit.
The Minecraft, the Minecraft stuff is just hilarious.
And we've just had our producer, Eric Miller, show up randomly in the middle of the podcast.
Yes.
Hey, I'm just coming to say hi.
Hey, what's up?
Nothing upstairs. There's a band in the front room playing. I'm listening to.
Oh, okay.
What band?
They're better than the band that was there
cool.
last week.
It's called Dave's Story, and they're really good. Is this the
Okay.
anime one?
Yes, this is the anime
What
one.
are you guys talking about?
We're talking about a bunch of animation from like the 90s, early 2000s. So like Batman, Jackie Chan, Samurai Jack.
Batman Beyond?
No, Batman, the animated series.
Ah,
We didn't get a chance to watch Beyond.
gotcha.
No.
Yeah, we had to limit
Do you see
ourselves.
Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends on there?
Yes.
Dexter's Laboratory, Samurai Jack. Clone Wars. Are you talking about like the really short, like 3-minute episode
Yeah,
long?
yeah.
Oh,
The
those
2D
were
ones.
awesome. Those were awesome. Well, keep up the good work. I just saw you guys. I wanted to come in and say hi. Keep up the good work.
All right. See you, Eric.
Bye. Hope you
Bye.
find your dad.
What?
What?
Anyone seen Finding Nemo?
What?
Well, yeah, but
But none of
No, wait,
them
that
are
wasn't
named-
Finding
I
Nemo.
don't
That
feel
was
like that was-
that was Elf.
I don't feel that was
Oh.
like,
That was Elf.
applicable.
Sorry.
well, it works. So, Clara, what were you saying?
I've been watching Yogscast stuff of them playing Tekkit, and I've actually been watching. I forget his name.
I forgot. Have they built the ocean destroying amulet yet?
You mean the
Ocean
destruction
destroying
catalyst,
amulet?
Well, maybe
or
ocean.
No, it's
not
it's
the
the-
whole world.
it's-
Just
It
the
created
ocean.
Atlantis.
No, there's an amulet in Tekkit that actually allows you to apparently it generates so much heat when you use it that it'll completely drain oceans of their water.
no?
What if you're nowhere
They're
near the
making a
ocean?
Jaffa Cake factory actually.
What?
Well, they're trying to.
What is
They
this
could
about
have made
exactly?
Jaffa cakes in like the first episode, but they've
What's
just
a
been
Jaffa
goofing
cake?
off. You don't know what Jaffas are?
Yeah, I don't know what Jaffas are either.
Okay, there are these chocolate covered cakes with like an orangey marshmallow center, and they're absolutely delicious. But I can't eat them anymore because they have chocolate, and I'm allergic to that. So
No.
it's kind of sad.
I'm not gonna lie. Every time you say that, I just imagine you turning into the fish from SpongeBob, just screaming, "Chocolate!
That was my favorite episode of SpongeBob.
Well,
What's one of the best for sure?
No, I still think Band Geeks is the best, but that's for a
Oh,
different
that's
time.
no, that's a good one too.
Yes,
And,
we will do a SpongeBob episode at some point. That's on the
I'm
docket.
not on that podcast
Why not?
because I don't like SpongeBob.
Because you're a godless monster.
Is
Man.
wrong with you?
well,
I think it's absolutely annoying.
The first couple, like,
Some episodes are funny.
first
It's like the
episode-
first,
Where it's
actually,
just
like
like
the first 100
humor.
episodes are actually pretty good.
they're hysterical.
Hundreds. Only the first 100.
I like the
episodes.
movie
Oh,
too.
no.
A lot of my friends didn't like
No,
the
the movie was
I
really
loved
good.
The movie.
The
love
movie
the
was, I think,
movie.
the last good thing that came out of that series.
I like the
like
what was
Simpsons.
it? It was like the lost film of SpongeBob or something like that. When it's just a walk loop for like 5 minutes.
Oh yeah.
That was just
It
a
was
cheap
so-
walk
It
cycle.
was so great.
Nice. Yeah, I enjoyed the movie. I didn't think it was great, but I thought it was good. And I do understand why like some people think it's annoying because like whenever my parents would happen to walk in while we're watching SpongeBob, my dad would be like, "Oh my god, his voice is so annoying."
Nah, my dad would
You
do
know.
that
My,
too.
I don't care what
my
he
dad
says.
thought it was stupid until I made him sit down and watch Band Geeks. He was laughing the whole time.
See, it's funny because my mom loved that show
Is
so much. She watched
mayonnaise
it
an
with us.
instrument?
She actually made us watch it with her.
Nice.
No, Patrick, horseradish isn't an instrument either. That's his eager face.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, just classic SpongeBob. As for myself, I went with our friend Kenneth Ganalti and forced him to watch the final 2 episodes of Fate Zero since he
gosh.
still hadn't finished them, even though we recorded that podcast about 2 weeks ago.
I think you should keep going with the pictures anyway, just
I-
so that way you could just be. He'd be like, "Why?"
Maybe, yes. I've been posting a picture from Fate Zero on his Facebook page every day that he hadn't finished the series. But now it's done. So I have to keep my promise, Chris. I'm sorry.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do. But so the final 2 episodes of that, which are both confusing but cool, because there's some cool action in there and cool character development, which is nice. I also watched... what did I watch? Oh, I watched the 6th episode of Cora, because I remember that being like one of my favorite episodes, but I only seen it once. So I went right back and rewatched it, and that definitely is probably one of the best episodes.
Was that the episode with the strong overtones?
No, that's the one where
No, I'm thinking of episode 3.
where Amon, spoilers for Cora, by the way, Amon blows up the rink, the pro bending arena. You know, so the first half of the show is them fighting in the pro bending finals, and then the second half is basically Amon being awesome and completely dominating everyone.
I miss Tano. I never thought I would say it, but I
Well,
miss Tano.
Funny fact about that was something when we did the podcast for that. Mark Goldsmith had said that his favorite line from that was at the very end after they win the whatever they're called, the Wolf Bats or whatever, when they win, he says something like, "Who else wants to scrap with the champs?" And I rewatched that episode and thought that line was just ridiculously delivered by that actor. So I was like, oh, I should try and find this on YouTube. You know, maybe, you know, it's on there. Like somebody just put that little clip. So Googling or YouTubing Cora and Tano, however, just brought up a bunch of like fanfics and pictures of them kissing,
I love that.
which I guess I should have expected, but
I wanted her to like seek him out and like restore his
Why?
bending because he's so funny.
he
was so pitiful
he's
when he
literally
lost his bending,
He's
and
in
I felt
3
so
episodes.
bad. I don't care. He's
in, like,
so
3
fabulous.
episodes, barely talked and doesn't do anything.
His
but complain
voice
and act
is
like a jerk.
liquid gold.
But
It's beautiful.
But he's a jerk though.
I don't care. If you don't look at him,
It's people
his
like you
voice
that
is
write
beautiful.
the really creepy fanfics.
I don't write fan fiction. I don't.
I don't care that you don't, but it's the people like you who write
I
that
can't-
really creepy
I
fan
can't
fiction
help that. I
has
like
literally
side
made me
characters.
stop reading everything that isn't written directly by the authors altogether. I won't even read like supplementals that are considered canon anymore because of people like you.
Smiley face.
All right. So we've
Does the
seen.
term Draco and leather pants mean anything to you?
No.
Haven't heard of that one, but I get the
No.
feeling I don't want to know.
But there's a Draco and red fishnets that I do know.
No.
Oh no.
That's an inside joke between me and my friends. So.
Okay, so for Clara's friends out there, you can be laughing hysterically right now. For the rest of us, why don't we move on to our main discussion for this week? We will be talking about a number of shows from the 90s into the early 2000s. For those of you who listened to us last week, we eliminated one show, Johnny Bravo, just because that we didn't get time to watch it when we watched all this stuff on Saturday, and most of us haven't seen the show in forever, so we won't be able to give
I've
a good
never seen
opinion on it. I mean, I knew it existed, and I saw like maybe 1 or 2 episodes, but that was really it.
Don't look at me like that.
Speaking of which,
What's your childhood about?
you guys need to come over
You as a
to
kid.
my place to see the Johnny Bravo Christmas episode.
It
That is
consists
by
of
far
a
the
lot of
funniest
Mario
Christmas
Party.
episode of
I'm starting to
anything
get
I've ever
that trend.
seen.
Okay.
Thanks. What were you two talking about there? Like what
He
was
asked me about my childhood, and I said it's basically a lot of Mario Party.
He
That's
hasn't
all
seen,
I did.
He
I
didn't
Wow,
like
you
SpongeBob.
had
You didn't watch Johnny
You really
Bravo.
had an anger-filled childhood, didn't you?
I'm trying to figure out what your childhood was about.
Yeah, if it was Mario Party, it was probably mostly him just beating
Raging.
people up.
Yes.
No, it was just mostly video games. I don't like watching TV. It's just boring to me.
well?
You got
Why are
one
you
in.
even here,
What are
then,
you
Chris?
doing here?
Because I have seen some shows,
I see.
just not in order and none with an actual story.
I see.
I've never known what they were.
Very good.
Okay then.
All right, so why don't we go to the first show on our list, which is the classic Batman the Animated Series. I think that aired from like early 90s to late 90s, right? It didn't cross over to the 2000s.
When Fox was good.
Yeah, pretty much.
Those were the days.
I mean, funny thing about this show, I've heard about it for a long time, but I didn't watch it when I was young. But recently, over summer break, I went on. There was a DirecTV channel. It was called the Haboom or something like that, and they had reruns of Batman the Animated Series on there. So I just rewatched a bunch of those episodes, found some on YouTube, and I'm amazed at how good the show is. I mean, for a kids show, it's pretty dark.
There's no for a kid show here. The show is good and it's dark, period. It's not even for a kid show. I love when people say that about the show. It's a good show and it's very dark and it's very well written, period.
Oh yeah, I mean that's true.
I'm sorry, I get a little defensive.
No, it's true. Like that's one thing that most of these shows that we're going to be talking about have in common is that they don't talk down to kids.
There's no pandering. Well, there is some pandering, but usually it's entertainingly pandering.
Right. Exactly. What about Clara? Did you watch any of Batman the Animated Series when you were growing up?
A little bit, but like not enough to like make a huge impression. I was never really a Batman fan, I guess. Like I don't know, it just never really was my cup of tea, but like I'm liking it more as like I'm watching like Arkham Asylum video games and
I'm
things
gonna,
like that.
I'm going to suggest this right now. Watch through this series because I kid you not, a lot of the more modern Batman is actually based off of this series.
Yeah, well, I know it introduced like it reinvented
Mr.
Freeze as a character.
It actually made him interesting as
Yeah.
opposed to just being
Yeah.
another lame villain.
Right, and-
It introduced Harley Quinn. It made it's just astoundingly well written. We didn't even see an episode that had Alfred in it. Alfred is hilarious
Love
in the show.
Alfred.
Yeah. Well, and the episode we watched a lot of first episodes from these various shows. The first episode of Batman the Animated Series isn't that great. You know, it's fine, but it doesn't really show off like what the show goes on to do later on.
That's because again, it's the first episode, and they were just trying to ease people into it. Because up until this point, most animation was real. I mean, even I'm not going to say most animation was kiddie at this point, but it kind of was. And since this was a show aimed at younger viewers, it was trying not to scare them away, I guess.
Right. And one other thing I really love about this series, just beyond, you know, all this cool stuff that happens in the episode itself, is the fact that it has one of the coolest openings. Like, you know, the little intro, you know, with the cool music and showing the credits at the end.
I would still argue that's still my favorite Batman music is the opening to Batman the Animated Series.
I don't know. I'd probably have to put the main theme to the Nolan Batman movies above that, but it's up there for sure. Andrew, did you watch any of this show when you were young?
I watched a little bit. Like I wasn't big. I was more into Justice League. Like as a kid, like I was all over the Justice League, which is, I mean, a great show. I hear great things about Batman. I do remember the one episode where Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy have like a team up or something. That's like my only real memory from the animated series. Otherwise, it was just all Justice League and Teen Titans for me.
Right. Chris, how about you?
Nope.
No. Are you interested in it, having watched that first episode?
When I was younger, I really liked Batman, but I guess I just got bored.
Do you not like Batman now?
No, I like Batman. It did keep me entertained as I got older, I guess.
I love Batman.
Like I'll play the video games or something, but
Games are
they're not as much fun as I thought they could be. So
What, you don't like the Arkham Asylum games and
I
such?
play games that you kill people.
Well,
Well,
And
Batman's
so-
not gonna
That's
kill
because
anybody.
you're a violence junkie. I think we've already come.
I think like we're getting to that.
we established that you played Mario Party as a kid, so this obviously infused you with just a rage.
He's glad. I'm glad he didn't grow up on the games that I did. Otherwise, he would be a very broken human being today.
Why is that?
Why?
I'll give you a hint. My first console was an NES, and the first game I owned was Battletoads.
Oh.
Man, how did you make it through that, man?
I never actually beat the game. I just remember getting really upset.
Don't blame you.
Oh, yes. So, Jeremy, it seems like you're the only one here among us who actually watched it when you were younger.
That's because, unlike the rest of you, I had a good childhood.
A good childhood.
Hey.
You just
My childhood
I'll
was
admit it,
wonderful.
it's not the best.
Yeah, I'd like to think I did.
I was outside a lot more as a child than I am now. I'm like outside never.
Outside.
What's outside?
Outside. So what were your thoughts about it, at the time? What was it just like, oh, wow, this is a cool, dark show and there's nothing else quite like it on TV for me?
Actually, when I was young, that kind of was the whole appeal of it to me. There was really nothing like it on TV. It was interesting. It was dark. It was really well written. And yes, I was very young at this time period, but I could understand what quality... I was getting an idea of what quality was at that point. So I'm like, wow, this is really, really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, some of, like I said, I haven't even seen that many episodes, but I know the Mr. Freeze episode is really, tragic and heart-wrenching, and one of my favorites is the one, what's it called? Almost Got Him, where it's just a bunch of the Batman villains sitting around, a card table, and they're talking about how they almost got Batman, and then they go into their little story about how it happened, and it's just because...
That sounds really cool.
I hit him with a rock.
That sounds actually really good.
It was a big rock.
Yeah, it's because one of the biggest strengths of Batman, just as a series in general, is the strength of its villains, and their variety and the fact that they feel so real,
For comic book villains, but I do love his villain set. They're so well developed and interesting villains.
Well, and if we're going to talk about this, we also have to mention the fact that, well, first of all, Kevin Conroy does I think that's his name. He does a great job as Batman. I think he still has the definitive Batman voice.
Yeah, I'm going to say this right now. It's better than...
Swear to me!
That's actually pretty accurate. Where's the Joker?
But not only do you have him, but then you have Mark Hamill as the Joker.
That's
There,
why I don't
that
use
is the
headphones.
Joker
Done with
voice.
his headphones.
That's why I don't use headphones, because when Jeremy's on the podcast, you don't want them.
You can
Hey.
adjust your volume on them if you want, but
No.
No.
I mean, Mark Hamill has. I mean, just as a voice actor, he's really pretty great. He's also the villain in the Ghibli film Castle in the Sky, and he's great in that. But I mean, just him as the Joker, his performance makes it stand up there, with Nicholson and Heath Ledger's, So there's quite a bit of debate about which one of those is the best. Most people probably saying it's either Ledger or Hamill. And for him to achieve that in an animated series is pretty astounding. I saw this great. It was an interview with him at Comic-Con where, it's obviously video. So you see him and he looks like Luke Skywalker except a bit older, and then they tell him to do the Joker voice and he just closes his eyes and just does it and does the crazy laugh. You can see this one chick dressed up as Harley Quinn and the crowd in the background, and her face just lights up when he does it. It's amazing.
Mr. J.
That's actually good.
That's a good one.
Yeah. All right, so yeah, overall thoughts. I mean, Batman the Animated Series is really good. Definitely some of the best, cartoon TV shows, done by an American studio that you're gonna find, and one that really touched a lot of people's childhood. I know lots of people really adore that series, and it's arguable whether it's been surpassed as far as the dramatic depths of a superhero show. I guess, you could argue something like Teen Titans or Justice League maybe has gone there, but it's up there, certainly. All right, so next on my list is Jackie Chan Adventures, which we watched the first episode of.
One more thing.
Yes, I think when we rewatched the first episode in Jeremy's room, and I don't think I'd ever actually seen that one. I watched the show when I was a kid and loved it, but I don't think I ever saw the pilot. And I will say, I've forgotten how annoying Jane's voice is.
Jade.
Or Jade, sorry. Yeah, she bothered me a little bit. But there was actually a number of jokes, that I didn't quite get as a kid that were more funny as an adult. And Uncle, of course, is great with his one more thing as Jeremy.
One more thing.
He goes a little overboard within that one scene. He says it like 5 times
Well,
in a row.
That's the joke.
Well, I know, but
I love Uncle.
Oh,
Like, I'd come home from school and be like, let's watch Jackie Chan Adventures. And I'd watch it until it was done. And it was the best thing about coming home from school.
nice. So,
Impressive.
so you were watching it like when you were younger? Mm-hmm. Yeah. I remember enjoying it. Like, it wasn't like my favorite show ever, but if I saw it on, I'd always watch it because it was always cool to see them. Like the animation was actually, rewatching it now, it's like, wow, that's actually pretty well done. Like the fight scenes are very fast paced and well animated. And then later on, when they are using the power of the talismans and things, that spices up the show in a cool way. Andrew, did you watch the show as a youth?
Yeah, I did. I love that show. That was like one of, I don't know, like you said, I don't know if it was one of my favorite shows, but it was definitely if it was ever on, I definitely loved watching it. And it was fun to watch because the talismans were, cool. And then I remember in the second season, they had those monsters.
Oh, yeah.
And that they had to stop, and I thought those were cool too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember specifically the one white-haired bad guy and the evil dragon. What was it called again?
Shao Kahn.
No.
It wasn't that.
No.
It was something similar though.
That's what I thought first, too. But no. It's that's from Mortal Kombat.
That's right. Oh, my
silly.
God. Wow.
That's from Mortal Kombat, silly
I
head.
feel really silly for saying that now.
Don't worry,
Thank
that's
you.
the first thing that popped in my head, too.
Yeah, I don't remember the name of it, but yeah, I specifically remember them fighting them for a long time, and then in the second season or whatever, it switches over to a different villain, different bunch of baddies to fight. What did you guys think of the? I'd forgotten that I think his name is Toru, the really big guy.
I forgot.
He's kind of boring as a villain, but as a main character, he was actually he's actually much more interesting, and he's really likable.
Do you
He
remember?
was always the one who took care of Jade.
Yeah,
they were partners.
Do you remember why he left the bad guys? I don't recall what his motivation.
I think he was getting
for that.
tired. I think it basically came down to I'm getting real tired of your crap.
I don't remember, but I do remember him being on the good side.
Yeah, no, he definitely was a good guy later on.
I can't remember.
I also remember, I forget his name, but it was some Mexican wrestler guy who always wore his mask. Yeah. He became a main or side character.
Didn't he
later
wear a
on.
suit or something?
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
That was the best part about it.
Yeah.
Right, because I think it
That's
gave
a
him
wrestler mask.
superpowers or something,
Yeah.
super strength.
I think his name was El Toro.
I want to say that sounds familiar. So yeah, I don't recall this being that's not like Batman where it changed televised animation as we know it, but it certainly is a good show. What was it, Jeremy? You were saying that the Jackie Chan himself actually really supported the project and wanted to do the voice, but just didn't have the time for it, so he just did the oohs and ahs and grunts and sound effects. And the guy who does the voice does a good imitation.
The dragon's name is Shindu.
Shindu, that's it.
Thank you. Yeah, Chris is our researcher over there. Speaking of which, did you watch the show as a kid, Chris? Did you know anything about it?
I did, but I did not see the beginning half, and then I kind of just watched shows whenever they came on.
I see. So you saw
I
more
didn't
of
know
this.
the schedule. I didn't really care either. I just kind of ended up watching what was ever on TV.
Yeah, that's true of me in general. When I was young, I didn't know that. At 7:00 on Sundays, this show is coming out. I was just come home from school, and I knew that around this time slot when I come home, these shows are on usually.
I watched
See, I
Pokemon
was
whenever
like
I
that
came
with
out of school.
I was like that with Pokemon. I remember we were in North Carolina for vacation. I woke up at 7 a.m. just so that I could watch Pokemon.
My parents' rules were that I had to do my homework right after I got home from school, but I eventually talked them into letting me watch Pokemon before I did my homework.
Nice. I think the only show I might have done that for was the original Avatar, because once I get into that, I was like, okay, this show's really good.
And like my mom liked watching it too, so we would all watch it together, and so I can get out of homework if she was there. It was awesome.
Nice. Jeremy, did you watch Jackie Chan when you were younger?
Of course I did.
Okay. Well,
Is that a serious question? I think, if memory serves, I'm the one who suggested that show.
I think you were. So what were your thoughts about it at the time versus, seeing it now as you're older?
At the time, I was kind of in the same camp as you guys were. It's on. I'm gonna watch it, but I never went out of my way to just go and watch it. I mean, now that I've rewatched it, it's like I actually kind of want to go back and rewatch the whole series now because actually it's pretty damn good.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, the thing that impressed me the most was just the quality of the animation, the fast-paced nature of the fight scenes, and also the comedy, throughout. How the one guy is Jackie Chan is talking to the bald guy, and he's like, oh, thank you for saving me. I don't know who knocked me out. And he's like, Jackie, I knocked you out. It's just oh.
How did you get down here? The stairs?
Yeah, that's right, the stairs joke.
The stairs.
Classic.
How did you get down here? The stairs.
And then they make that their reoccurring joke for the episode.
It's a good joke. It works.
It does.
Definitely.
All right. So, positive on Jackie Chan Adventures. Moving on to the next thing, we have Fairly OddParents, which is one that we didn't watch on Saturday, mostly because
I don't think anyone here has forgotten it.
yeah.
No,
I mean, the only one I'm concerned about is Chris. I don't know, Chris, did you watch that show?
All the time.
Okay, so
I got my dad to watch
So
it.
Fairly OddParents was fine, but SpongeBob was no.
No.
Huh.
All right, in Fairly OddParents, though, it's got the same problem that SpongeBob has. It was really good, and it's been just going progressively down the tube.
Yeah.
Fairly
Yeah.
OddParents, so had magical creatures granting stuff. SpongeBob just pulled stuff literally out of nowhere.
Just how cartoons
Look what I
work.
got.
That's how cartoons work.
That's how
Thank
anime
you.
works.
Thank you.
What?
Yeah.
They
Well,
pull stuff out of nowhere.
I mean, both Fairly
like to pay attention to
OddParents,
logic.
both Fairly OddParents and SpongeBob are shows where there's no cohesion between the episodes.
Right.
SpongeBob will basically might even die or something. In at the end of one episode, and the next episode it's completely different.
I don't
So
know.
and that's true
I
of Fairly
hated
OddParents.
SpongeBob. I just got
don't think he was-
some episodes were good for SpongeBob. I liked SpongeBob for some episodes. Others were just completely stupid. Fairly OddParents had the same thing. Some were stupid, but some were ridiculously funny.
Yeah.
Just depending on the
Just
episode.
do me a favor and don't watch anything post-poof because they're terrible.
I stopped watching before then, and I was just kind of I don't want to jump on when they have a baby now.
Poof is the random thing that saves everybody at the end.
It's
it's
just
Wesley
so
Crusher.
uncomfortable to watch.
Doesn't know what she's doing, so she starts blowing stuff
Do you
Yeah.
up.
remember when Jimmy Neutron entered Fairly Odd
Oh
Parents?
god,
Yeah.
there's a show I was not unhappy to see go.
Really?
Yeah.
like
I
Jimmy
kind
Neutron.
of liked it.
Oh god, no! It just
Sheen
the
was
character.
my favorite.
Oh god, no! That whole show, the whole cast just annoyed me on this special level that most shows just can't touch on. First off, the show was really ugly. Let's
Well,
yeah,
let's
it was
be
early
complete-
3D animation.
I don't
so-
care. It was straight up ugly, and it doesn't even have that well of an excuse because it's not early 3D. Go ahead and rewatch Transformers Beast Wars.
Well.
That's early 3D animation. Jimmy Neutron's just straight up ugly, and it doesn't have an excuse.
Yeah, I guess. I do remember, I think they did a total of 3 different crossover movies between Fairly OddParents and Jimmy Neutron.
That's because Fairly OddParents was incredibly popular and Jimmy Neutron wasn't. So they
Well,
were trying to boost the popularity of
Jimmy
the-
Neutron was popular for a short amount of time, but it declined pretty
was.
quickly.
It was
think.
it was too long in my opinion.
Yeah,
I hated that show so
That was one my parents didn't let me watch because they thought that how the kids treated the adults wasn't proper. They make the adults really stupid.
They do
in that universe.
It was uncomfortable it's how do you people even function?
Well, but to be fair,
Jimmy's dad was the best.
to be fair, they do a very
God,
similar thing
yeah.
in Fairly OddParents because Timmy's parents are dumb as a rock.
Timmy's parents are the exception, not the rule. It looks like the average adult may be a little on the dopier side, but they're at least functioning human beings.
I mean, Timmy's not
Timmy's
super
parents
smart
are just
either. He
completely-
gets
No.
Yeah.
Fs. Well, I mean, that's also.
Yeah, Timmy is dull as a post, but honestly, though, most of the adults seem like they're fairly normal human beings. It looks like Timmy's parents are just the exception, not the rule.
Dinkleberg.
They're just stupid and negligent.
They are horrifically negligent. I am
They're like the worst parents ever.
like sometimes I rewatch that show and it's like, wow, that's actually kind of.
Where did you get the
uncomfortable.
fish? I've always had them.
Internet.
Hey, where'd you get
Internet.
that giant TV? Oh, I've always had it. Oh, okay.
Where'd you get it? Where'd you get that internet?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're talking about the logic of cartoon shows, Chris, and yet you have things like that where it just says, "Oh, I got it from the internet," and the parents are like, "Okay, let's go with it."
That was actually more uncomfortable to watch than any other aspect of
I
that
thought that
show.
was
It's
funny.
because
Well, it is funny, but
those aren't the. They aren't. I don't consider those people the main characters. The main characters of a show don't need to pull stuff literally out of nowhere to solve a problem. Oh, convenient drop in. No.
you must hate Looney Tunes.
Yes, I do.
oh my
Get out. You're done. Get out.
Leave.
Man.
Get out. You're not wanted here anymore.
man, on an animation podcast, and he hates the Looney Tunes. Man,
Did you hate
Well, mainly I didn't
Animaniacs?
like what?
Did you hate Animaniacs?
No.
no, okay.
Your logic is not
I-
only flawed, but
It
it's
contradicts
inconsistent.
I didn't like Looney Tunes because I hadn't watched it. I didn't know. Like I said, didn't watch TV.
Well, that's different.
Didn't watch TV.
I didn't watch that much of Looney Tunes when I was a kid, but I
Oh,
still
Jeremy's
enjoyed it when I
dying.
saw
Did you
it.
not watch
I
Looney
just thought
Tunes
of
as
it.
a
I
kid?
got bored.
What's wrong with the world
I got
today?
bored.
Jeremy's having a spaz attack over here.
I don't
okay.
like it because I never saw it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I got bored.
That's
That's
some
it.
weak
Wow.
logic right there, my friend.
You apparently got bored with things very quickly, didn't you?
Yeah.
It's made like a squirrel.
I see. But
I need to
No, it
satiate
just
my
didn't-
bloodlust.
Attention span's not the problem. Keeping me entertained was.
So yeah, it's an attention span issue.
Shit, man.
I guess.
Just wasn't entertaining to me.
Back to Fairly
It's not
Odd
an attention
Parents.
span issue.
Fairly OddParents.
What were you guys' thoughts on the I guess just on like the main characters who would probably be, Timmy, Cosmo, and Wanda.
My biggest complaint. I'm sorry if I just stopped anyone else from talking, but yeah, my biggest complaint was the fact that just in like the first 5 or 6 episodes, Cosmo wasn't. He wasn't a genius, but then again, neither was Wanda. But he was. Maybe he was a little dumber than everyone else, but he was also really charismatic. He was an interesting character, and his voice wasn't so shrill.
And it changed.
Yeah.
And then it changed all of a sudden, I think it was like the 6th episode or 7th episode, and then all of a sudden he just becomes this I'm not going to say he was unlikable, but it was getting really close to it. I started to like Cosmo less and less in every epised.
I liked Cosmo.
Yeah,
Cosmo.
I thought
See,
Cosmo was funny.
I felt so bad for Wanda. She had to deal with so many.
No, that was
idiots.
another problem with Wanda is that Wanda, for every time I felt bad for her, I think there were 2 times I just got annoyed with her because she whined to the point that it was just
She was kind of naggy, but at the same
Yeah,
time,
well,
I
that-
understood.
they make cracks about that all the time. I think what really bothered me about the show was they keep trying to tell us that Timmy's stupid, and clearly he's smarter than everyone else in the show, including AJ. No, I mean, look at what he does in the show. He's able to form complex plans. He's able to outwit pretty much everyone he talks to, including AJ. And he's supposed to be dumber than a post.
Well, I think it depends on the episode. Like certain episodes, he does he finds inventive ways to get out of situations, and then other episodes he can't answer like a simple, common logic question, in school or whatever.
Okay, really, because half the questions that Mr. Crocker asked, I couldn't answer. Like, I'll rewatch some of those episodes. What is the sound of one hand clapping? Oh, I hate you so much right now.
I love Mr. Crocker. He's just
Fairy godparents.
exactly.
Berries.
Berries!
It took me a while when I was watching this when I was like really young, to figure out that was it Jorgen, the Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Von Strangle.
Yes,
My mighty muscles.
the Arnold Schwarzenegger parody character.
Scramble the fairies.
I like to scramble the fairies.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like with Fairly OddParents, there are some classic episodes that are like genuinely well written and funny, and then there are some later ones that start to descend further and further away from that.
It's still not quite in the realm of SpongeBob, but
Yeah.
What was the singer's name? Like
Brittany.
No,
Oh, no,
the guy. It was like
Was it? I want to say it was like Chaz or something.
It was
like
something
that.
with like
What?
the singer with
The-
the red hat, and
Yeah,
Vicky
he was-
kidnapped him, and then
Oh, yeah.
Timmy wish for his voice.
It was Chad.
It was Chad something. I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't remember, but I remember him as a
That chip in
character.
it.
Remember
Oh,
TV's
yeah.
Adams West?
That was it. Oh yes,
TV.
TV's Adam West.
Yeah.
Adam West is himself is like a running gag in like every show ever now.
I know. I love
TV's
that.
Adam West.
I love that, and the whole like was it Catman thing that
Yeah.
he's
Oh, I
got
love
going on.
Catman.
Classic. And then you get those episodes. What I actually remember seeing recently, just because it was on TV, was an early episode where Timmy wishes the Crimson Chin out of his comic book into the real world and gets all disillusioned, like realizing that he's a fake character.
Fetal position, fetal position, fetal position,
Exactly.
fetal position. And it's like, wow, that's really well written.
Yeah, exactly. And just he's just a cool character in general, you know.
Do you remember the episode with like magic muffin or cupcake or something
Yeah.
that had like a rule-free wish?
That episode.
Every time you
Or
took
like
a
that
bite,
movie
I thought it was like
or
gonna
something.
be you just like ate the whole thing, but then like every time
Yeah,
you
but they
took
got
a bite, you got a rule-free wish, so everybody just took a chunk out of it and it charged.
And it tasted
Yeah.
terrible, apparently.
I
Yeah,
do
but
remember
they
that
got
one.
They got to fight on an atom in that. That was kind of cool.
Although
that
their,
was
their,
cool.
their explanation of physics leaves something to be desired.
It's a show about magic fairies.
No, I know that, and I
Right, because
understand
doesn't Timmy use an arrow to split an atom and it
That's like
causes
it.
a nuclear explosion?
On an eraser.
My gentle listeners, that's not how it works.
I know.
Trust me, it's a lot more complicated than that. And I'll give you a hint: the molecules in an atom are nowhere near heavy enough to split for a nuclear explosion.
Yeah. Well, I remember. I think that was the first movie that they did, and that one was pretty good. And then there was another one where he escaped into the TV, and
I
there was
liked
all
that
those
one.
all these
That was
parodies.
that was actually a good episode.
I like the Dragon Ball Z parody.
Mahomushi.
Yeah, Mahomushi.
Yeah, it was actually a little genuinely sad because I remember at the end, like in order to beat Vicky, basically Timmy ages himself until he forgets about his Fairly Godparents, and they like disappear.
Yeah.
like-
Fairly Godparents.
Fairly Odd Parents. Sorry.
It's either Fairy
Is
Godparents or Fairly Odd.
anyone else really happy that he ends up marrying Tootie?
I was unsurprised.
I was
Yeah.
so
Oh.
happy.
It's like what was the other choice? The crazy blonde girl.
Yeah.
Oh, I forgot that she had a huge crush on Timmy.
Right. Or what was the name of the girl with the black hair?
Trixie. Trixie Tang.
I hate
Tang.
it. Trixie was the craziest
Tell me I'm
person.
pretty.
Tell me I'm pretty.
Oh yeah.
Gosh, you're pretty.
I
Gosh, you're
remember
pretty.
That's the episode where it's literally him and her, and they're the only people left alive, or whatever.
In, like, the
Great.
universe.
They go into the department store or whatever, and they just start
Yes.
taking everything and having like a war.
Exactly. Like, see, those are all early episodes, and those are great.
There was
And then-
also Mark from Yugopatamia.
I miss Mark.
Oh yeah, yeah. There are all these side characters I forget about.
It's the
But
whole
yeah.
thing. It's all sides characters.
Cosmo's mom.
Oh,
No.
she was.
I didn't like her. I didn't think
She was evil.
Wanda's mom. I mean, Wanda's dad. I liked. Wanda's dad was
He was
I
a
don't
mobster.
remember.
the mobster.
He was the mobster
I
guy.
don't remember
Oh,
him at all.
that was cool.
I actually
mean,
chuckled when
had
he
the
when he
hits.
was there. Cosmo's mom, no, I did not. I didn't think she was an interesting character to start with, and then the fact that she showed up in I think she almost showed up in almost more episodes than any other side character except for maybe Mark and Vicky.
Yeah, she was in
Probably.
a number of them.
And honestly, every time she was in an episode,
about
it's like
Doug
I don't
Dimmadome?
like this episode right off the bat.
What about who?
The Dimmadome guy.
Doug
Doug Dimmadome.
Doug Dimmadome,
Dimmadome.
almost Dinsdale Dimmadome.
Oh yeah, that guy. Classic. And what else? Oh, and then I think before we finish up this discussion, we should talk about Vicky, since she's basically portrayed to be the worst human being ever.
I don't think. I think it's. Does anyone else find it hilarious that she is just the most horrific, abusive human being on earth,
Chip
and literally
Skylark.
everyone.
Yes,
That was it.
That was him.
Yep.
Yeah, no, she's this horrifically monstrous human being, and literally nobody catches on it. Even when Chip Skylark sings a song about her and probably tells the cops that he was kidnapped by this woman.
Do you
Yeah.
do you remember the movie? What do you think that song was about? Pumpkins? Yes.
That was funny, but it's like everyone. I mean, yes, I get that was the joke, but.
Yeah, I mean it stretches logic quite a bit
Without
there.
her, there would be no need for Cosmo and Wanda.
They actually. I swear to God, they changed the reason why Cosmo and Wanda exist. Like every other episode.
Why do you say that? Because I
I
always
mean,
thought it was.
they're with him. Sometimes it's because of Vicky. Sometimes it's because of his parents. Sometimes it's because of Mr. Crocker.
Yeah, well, I think I don't think I've ever seen the pilot episode, but I'm pretty sure the main reason was because he was always alone with Vicky.
No, I think Vicky was a new babysitter when she first got invited.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Then the magic 9-ball gag. When are my parents coming home? Titanic, director's cut.
I remember that one.
I missed that.
Do you remember the episode where Timmy basically says, "I'm gonna be the babysitter," and makes Vicky like really little, and then he tortures
a really
her.
creepy episode.
Yeah, it's kind of supposed to be. Sort of a reversal. One character I just remembered. I forget his name, but the genie.
Norm.
Yeah, it's Norm the genie.
Norm was probably,
Oh my God.
I think he's, out of all the later added characters, he was probably my favorite because he was just so ridiculous. Fez.
He had that like creepy bad guy vibe that I got from him
Yeah.
from Powerpuff Girls. Like he made me uncomfortable. I didn't
Really?
like
I
him.
wouldn't say it
No,
was
whereas
from
him
Powerpuff
was
Girls.
maybe child molester vibe.
Well,
Like, let's be
maybe
honest, there was a
child
serious
molester.
child molester.
But then like
vibe.
Norm was just diabolical, and
Norm
I didn't
was
like him.
Norm
Norm
was
was fun.
slimy, but at the same time, he was also compelling.
That's a really good word. Slimy is a really
But
good
he
word.
was-
for
no,
him.
but now, then again, though, he was also compelling. He was an interesting character.
That's true.
Compared to him was a straight up like getting to that creepy child molester thing.
It was just the tone of just slimy, creepy, and I did not like him.
I swear,
Yeah.
honestly, I'm not gonna lie. He was kind of like Buffalo. I swear to God, him reminded me of Buffalo Bill meets the Child Snatchers.
Oh dear.
Wow. And something else I just
Lord.
remembered, classic villain characters are the Pixies in their business suits.
Yes.
The head pixie was the fact that everything he gave was just ridiculously snide and sarcastic. And
In
it
a
was,
monotone.
it was
Yes.
a lot of the stuff he said was really funny too. The Pixies pretty much said nothing but jokes the whole time, but they were like really low key and they were very sarcastic. So a lot of people didn't always catch
And
them.
they're the anti-fairies.
I didn't like the anti-fairies.
Me neither.
I
They
didn't
were
like,
dumb.
why does this exist?
Yeah, they weren't. Although I did like how the Cosmo anti-fairy was like super
Anti-Cosmo.
sophisticated.
Yeah.
Oh God! And then
That was all right.
anti-Cosmo annoyed me.
Oh yeah, just like regular Cosmo, basically.
Yes, but for a different reason.
Well, obviously.
Yeah. Yes, I suppose he's supposed to be the posh British guy. Yes.
Yes.
But I've never seen this thing, but I've heard. I don't know if it was you who was telling me, Jeremy, that how they finished Fairly Odd Parents was with some sort of weird
no!
like a live action movie or something.
Well, there was
Okay,
a live
here
action
I'll
movie.
tell. I can give you a couple of tidbits of why it was so bad. First, it was starring Drake Peck
Who's he again?
from Drake and Josh,
Oh,
the skinny
wait.
one.
No.
Wait,
I'll let
he-
you chew
he's
on that.
Timmy?
Yes.
What?
Second
think
off,
I remember that.
it's live
Oh, I remember
action.
that.
Third off, it has the 3D fairies in it, and they look terrible.
I think I
So like
remember
CGI,
that.
3D.
Very bad CGI.
Ooh.
Like, you remember how bad the fairies looked in CGI in the Jimmy Neutron?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That bad.
Ooh.
Ouch.
Number 4, the baby talks at the end, and he talks like a black man. Not there's nothing wrong with talking like a black person, but it's a small baby, and it's just really uncomfortable listening to it.
That's interesting.
What?
It's just it just comes off as just being bizarre and not funny. Oh, and what else was there? There was something else about this movie that I hated. Oh yeah, Timmy was a 31-year-old and he still had his fairies.
Really?
Or was he
Didn't he
27?
get rid of him? When did he get rid of him originally?
doesn't.
What year? What?
he's
like a
weren't you
loophole?
old enough to at one
In
point that they
in the
leave?
one in the episode, like the TV one that I was talking about, he like fast forwards time till he's like 17 or
18.
19, 18, something like that, and then he's lost them. But according to this, apparently he keeps them forever.
Yeah, no, and then they get a special, and then he gets a special rule made that he gets to keep them forever. And then then he joins up with Tootie to go on magical adventures to grant wishes to everyone on Earth.
Oh my god!
Really, that's the ending.
Wow.
I'm not
Who
making
played,
that
who
up.
played Tootie?
What's her name? She plays the sister in Victorious.
I don't watch Victorious.
I can't think of her name.
You watch Victorious?
No,
An accusation.
I have a little sister who used to watch it.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah.
I was just confused.
It's awful from what I've seen of it. But.
So I mean that just depresses
and then
me.
there's a second ending episode as well, and it's an animated one.
Oh.
Apparently, this is actually a little more cleverly written. Apparently, the show has actually gone on for 67 years because Timmy actually made a wish that everyone would stop aging 67 years ago so he could keep his fairies.
Really?
Really.
Do-do-do-do-do-do.
And then Jorgen finds out. He's like, I'm going to have to speed up time so that everything is set right.
Wait, so the idea is that the entirety of the show has taken place over 67 years?
Yes. I'm like,
That's
that's
kinda
actually
clever.
pretty clever.
That's awesome.
That is.
It'd be more clever if they didn't include poof in it, but
Wait, so does he fast forward time and then Timmy's a 67-year-old man?
Yes, and his parents are somehow still alive.
What? How old are
They'd be
in
like
the
in their
show themselves?
hundreds, but it's possible, technically.
Magic, no question.
They'd probably be in their 90s.
So I guess that just makes me sad, that such a good show has to end in such an awful way, that's so far removed
Quote
from
unquote ended. I don't know if they're still making new episodes or not. I don't care anymore because, as far as I'm concerned, the show was over a while ago.
Right.
I watched an episode the other day where Norm tried to be a fairy.
That was a good episode.
That one was.
Well,
It's more of a movie than
that's one of the movies. I remember that because he's trying to
Yeah.
become a fairy because he hates being a genie.
And he got Chester, or like he had.
Yeah,
It was
he got
Chester.
assigned
Yeah.
to
Oh,
Chester
yes.
and made his dad like famous or something.
yeah.
But
Chester
what-
McBad
it
bad.
didn't occur to me that when his dad became famous that he wouldn't have money, and then it occurred to me that he didn't ask for the money; he just asked to be famous. So when he lost everything, I was like, "Oh, no."
And I know how to play the banjo.
I still hate the banjo.
Da-da-da-da-da. All right, so there's our Fairly Odd Parents talk. Next on my list is Teen Titans, which is we watched the first episode of that also in Jeremy's room, and that was another one actually over the summer. They were playing a bunch of them. I want to say on Boomerang. Like it's kind of sad to me that those
It
are.
is
Yeah.
really
It's
sad.
You feel
it's
old
from
now,
like
don't
it's
you?
like from 2005 and
I know,
2006.
but it
But
feels
that's
like Boomerang. Like I'm.
It's like
I'm
the
used-
Jetsons.
it's mostly
Exactly.
the old Hanna-Barbera stuff.
Exactly. So it's a little weird to see like these shows that I consider to be relatively new, even though now they're
I saw the
8
first
years
season
old.
of Pokemon on there, and I don't have the channel at home, and I was so upset.
So it makes you feel old, doesn't it?
It does.
So
Like I'm
old.
old now.
Well, I've seen
It's
some-
okay. Don't worry. We'll turn that drying pan.
and Jesus.
No rock.
I've seen some clips on YouTube of apparently they're making like a new Teen Titans show, like with the
yeah.
voice actors and everything, but it's like in a chibi like comedy style. Not
I've seen bits and I don't know if they're actually making a new show or if that's just like little shorts they're doing.
Ooh, okay. I actually have the scoop on this one. Because I'm the comic book
Andrew's
guy.
an expert.
all right.
All right. So originally, back when Young Justice and Green Lantern showed up, they had the DC Nation on Cartoon Network, which they took away for the year, but I'm not rant about that later. So they had these little like DC shorts that they used to play in between commercials that were cute and that a lot of people liked. I thought they were annoying because I just wanted to watch Young Justice, but no, whatever. So, but apparently they're going to get together the entire Teen Titans back as a show next year, along with the new Batman show and the Green Lantern show, and Young Justice is coming back, which is all I really care about anymore.
What kind of Batman? Because I'm going to
The
say this right.
detective kind.
Thanks. That's really helpful. I'm going to say this right now, and this is
No,
not a
that's-
popular opinion. I really enjoyed Batman: The Brave and the Bold
That-
because that went back to really. Well, I wouldn't say old school Batman because old school Batman was still pretty dark. I'd say it was like 50s Batman that was very campy. I enjoyed that. Not to mention it made Aquaman an actually fun character to watch as
Aquaman
opposed to
is
just
a
being
fun
painful. No, let's be honest. Aquaman is usually painful to watch.
Nowadays, he's
Like
awesome,
when he was
though, but-
flying on the flying fish. That doesn't work, Aquaman.
No, and in
What?
Batman: The Brave and the Bold,
it was
he
a
became
gift that
hilarious.
I found. It was awesome.
Outrageous.
Oh,
Nice.
Aquaman.
Yeah,
Aquaman
Now-
has all the same powers as SpongeBob.
Is Brave and the Bold already over? Because I know that only came out like a couple of years ago.
Yeah,
I think it only
it's-
lasted 2 seasons.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, that's
That's
kinda sad.
actually pretty good for most animated shows though.
Really?
It is for superhero shows. They don't have long lifespans.
There's only like a few handfuls like Teen Titans and Batman the Animated Series that lasted for a while.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean-
well, I know Teen Titans has 4 seasons. I think.
I think Batman the Animated Series was it, like 6 or 7.
I don't remember.
at least 5. I know of that much.
I absolutely loved the Teen Titans movie when they went to Tokyo. I
Oh,
loved it.
I don't remember them.
I don't
going to
remember that one as much. I wasn't as fond of that as much.
It was all right.
I wanted them to use one of the better villains.
But why I didn't? Yeah, again, no, I didn't much care for the villain. You're totally right.
Yeah.
Personally, what I really would have liked to see though is they actually take on a villain that's from from one of the major superheroes rogues gallery. Not the Joker, because that would just be
No.
that
That's
would
unfair.
Unfortunate, because if it
Well-
was the Joker, if he didn't win, it would just be kind of uncomfortable to watch. But if he did win, it would be a horrific victory.
Oh god.
Right.
Everyone would die.
Well, Slade is basically just Slade is essentially Deathstroke, and that's like as close as they ever got. And then Raven's dad is an actual villain in the DC canon.
I love the Raven arc so
But
much.
beyond that, I don't think
Who's
they were.
Raven's
If
dad?
I remember correctly,
Trigon.
they weren't allowed to touch most of the main DC canon because the Justice League people were like angry at them for
Oh, really?
existing. And
Well, that is the thing with the Teen Titans show. I'm not a big comic book reader, but I do know this for a fact. It's incredibly far away from the actual comic because the comic is incredibly dark.
Teen Titans especially.
Yeah, no, it's astoundingly dark.
Actually,
It's-
Teen Titans is generally darker than Justice League.
But then the show was a pretty lighthearted fare. Even the Raven stuff, it got dark, but it was never as dark as the comic was on average.
She was
Well.
so cute, a little girl.
She's terrifying. Not Raven. No, it's Starfire is horrifying in the comics.
Really?
She
Oh my
is
God,
pretty
she
scary.
kills like
Kills everything.
she does.
Isn't her hair like fire? It's
kinda.
something. It's a
Kind
weird substance like fire.
Well, she's an alien.
Yeah, I've never read any of the Teen Titans comic books, but I did watch I watched the show a ton back when I was younger. I watched it up to to season 3, which I think is the Raven stuff. Because I know in season 4 they go and fight like the Brotherhood of Evil, and I've seen a few
Yes.
of those episodes, but I never finished that one.
Was
I was
that
never as
the
into
end?
that one.
I actually enjoyed the Brotherhood of Evil stuff. I just wish that Cyborg had played a bigger part in that arc. Because I feel like they never did enough with Cyborg. Honestly feel like they did two. There was an arc that was almost entirely dedicated to Robin. There was one that was dedicated to Raven. There was one that was dedicated to Cyborg, to Beast Boy, and then pretty much every other episode
but-
was
Well,
for
they had the
Starfire.
thing when they were in the hive. Wasn't Cyborg in the hive?
So that was only
thing?
like 3 episodes though.
Well, there was that, and then there was I think this. I don't remember whether this is related to the Hive or just completely separate. But there was a whole thing with a villain called like Brother Blood.
that was the Hive stuff.
Yeah, that was.
Was
That was
it?
like maybe 5 episodes total out of like 80.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, thinking about it, like I know that Beast Boy is supposed to be connected to like the Brotherhood of Evil. Like
Yes,
he
and the
used
Doom
to
Patrol.
They did.
Right.
They did. The Beast Boy is connected to the Brother of Evil, and then they had the Beast Boy arc when he was with Tara. So that was
Right.
like
Oh
a big
god, there's a
boys-
character I was happy to see die.
Beast Boy centric episodes. Where
Yeah,
where-
there
Doesn't
were-
she come back?
Yes, but then she doesn't have her powers and she doesn't remember anything.
Good.
And she's not in the show for the most part, so I'm good. I'm okay with that.
I don't think. See, what's interesting about that is I don't think that's a bad episode. The problem with it is that it's literally the last episode of the whole show. That episode that you're talking about.
The one where they show Tara still alive. Is that really the last episode?
Yep.
I thought the
I've
last
done
episode
research.
where I could have swore the last episode was when they finally defeat the Doom Patrol, and then there's 80 plus people about to beat the crap out of Dr. Light.
Yes.
I remember that.
Oh yeah, that's it. Well, how I went and watched that's episode specifically on YouTube because there's that episode. That's the penultimate episode. The very last episode that was aired was the Terra being,
There
you
go.
know.
It's the end.
Why?
At least they
Tara
used
did
Dr.
what?
Light. That's a good
Fun
villain.
fact about Dr. Light: he's actually a psychotic rapist.
Yes.
In the comic.
Wow. Wait,
Tara
what-
did what?
Oh, yeah.
She basically comes back to life, but she has no memories of her former self and no powers. And Beast Boy's like trying to say, "Oh, well, don't you remember this and that? We used to
Why
be
don't I
friends."
remember that?
It's the last
It's
episode.
the-
I don't
the-
think I saw it.
Don't feel bad. You're not missing anything.
Nope.
yeah.
I feel like it was better for the show to have ended on that last thing after the Doom Patrol stuff because that was a really good last episode. Oh no, we're
Was-
just gonna throw this Terra crap in here now. No,
I can't. Is that the
Leave
one where
the-
like it starts with the plus and minus little guys getting chased, and then
No, that's like 3 episodes long.
I know,
They're
but I mean, like, is that the one I'm thinking of?
it ends with them finally freezing the brain.
Yeah, that's okay.
It's like,
I
yeah.
know what we're talking about
Yeah,
now.
no, that should have been the last episode right there. Great ending.
Yeah.
It was well paced. It was an interesting episode. It was fun to watch. But no, we gotta throw more Terra crap in here.
And it was like the episode where like all of the superheroes, the Teen Titans, that sort of gathered, fought all of the Brotherhood of Evil people, which include like the main 5 plus like all of the bad guys from throughout the whole show. You know, which is pretty cool for a final episode.
Yeah.
Although you say that you obviously didn't like Tara much as a character in general, I actually quite liked it when she was first introduced and she was sort of this girl with sort of a gray morality. You didn't really know what was going on with her, and she couldn't control her powers. And then she comes back and ends up betraying them. I actually thought that was
I disagree on the whole gray morality comment. It's pretty sure that she had zero morality. You can't be gray when you're as...
Well, from what I understood, like it's been so long since I've seen it, but the only reason she followed Slade was because he basically promised her power and being able to control her abilities.
So that's not gray. That's not gray.
But she
all.
also she did have an attachment. She was friends with most of the Titans except for Raven.
That's
and she
why
actually
I didn't like her.
She actually had
she got in the way of Raven and Beast Boy.
I'm not that creepy.
Wait. Hold
I'm
on.
not creepy.
But
It's
Robin
not creepy.
and Raven had a thing during the Raven arc. That was like that was like heavily implied that Robin and Raven were going to end up together during the Raven
Robin
arc.
and Starfire.
Because I know it was them, and then the Raven arc shows up, and Robin's like hitting on Raven, and they have all these touching moments together.
Well, I think part of that's because isn't Robin just escorting her when she's like a little like regressed into a little kid?
It's also because Slade and Robin have that thing, whatever they have,
Slade.
his obsession with Robin. So I think that's the reason why
and
Robin's
Robin's
there.
obsession with Slade, he goes all Fight Club in the one
that
episode,
too.
Yeah,
But that's
really.
because of
That's
Slade's
awesome.
initial obsession with him.
which is really dark for like a kids show.
I mean, yeah.
That everything with Slade was actually a lot darker than the rest of the show because
Like
Slade
when
was
they-
a competent villain.
when they
I
had
know.
those
It was a good villain.
viruses,
Yeah.
that made me, I was scared. Of
Well,
that
yeah, and
episode.
he makes basically Robin serve him because his friends will die if he doesn't, I mean, I just love Slade in general. Like, he had a really cool voice. His design was cool, and he was sort of this omnipresent threat that you're never sure whether you're fighting him or one of his apparently bajillions of robot doppelgangers.
I know this was a very popular theory when the show first came out, and I thought it was stupid when I heard it, and now that I look back on it, it's even stupider now that I hear it. But for some reason, a lot of people thought that Slade was Batman.
I thought
no,
that
because
too.
they implied, because Slade's like, I can be your father. It's like, I already have a father, and then the bats fly out of the.
Batman wasn't his father. Dick Grayson's father
but-
was dead.
No, but Batman.
His father is
No,
dead.
because this Robin's not the Dick Grayson. It's an amalgamation of all the Robins.
No, but he becomes Nightwing though, so I have to
Oh.
assume that he's Dick Grayson.
That's what I said. But
That's an alternate
that
future,
episode
though.
was sad.
But no, it's pretty.
he's basically the Robin's father, though. I could argue that because he adopts each of them, and except for Tim, I think, and he raises them.
Yeah.
If you want to make that argument, that's fine.
mean-
but that being said, it's not Batman. Come
No,
on,
it's
people.
not Batman. It's
It was
definitely
obviously not Batman.
No, it's Slade Wilson.
Yeah. Well, I
'Cause
was
he's Deathstroke.
I always thought that I can't talk today. I also sort of thought that for a short period of time because it is sort of implied, and I even remember one like dream sequence episode where Robin's fighting Slade and like unmasks him, and then it's Robin's face underneath the mask.
Like in Star Wars.
pretty much.
Yeah. Now, again, though, the biggest problem with that argument that Slade is Batman, if Slade were Batman, the first episode would not have happened then.
If Slade were Batman, what the hell is Batman doing? Yes.
Well, but the question is though, if he's not Batman, then who is he, and why does he have such an obsession with Robin?
Now that
It's probably because he actually assumes that Robin's the only competent person on the Teen Titans, which is unfortunately kind of true.
Well, he's probably the most important Titan simply because he's the leader and he's the one that gets
And the
stuff
only-
done.
Remember why you just used the words "the only competent Titan"? There's a reason for that. Everyone else has superpowers and they never get anything done. Robin has to
true.
get everything
he
done.
actually does, because he saves, even during the Raven arc, the entire world, the apocalypse starts, and Robin's the one that saves
Well,
the
the
world.
apocalypse pretty much happens. Like everybody's dead except for
Yeah.
the Teen Titans,
So
basically.
the apocalypse
again-
happens, and he brings it back from
Yeah,
that.
Robin is the
Well,
only person that gets things done.
he helps bring it back.
Okay,
It's really
him-
Raven that
him
does
and
that.
Raven bring it back, but he saves Raven. So
I
he
mean,
gets the
but you
assist
say
points.
that, but there are multiple episodes like dedicated to each character, where
Well-
they have their sort of moments of awesomeness, whether it's like I remember that one where Beast Boy and Aqua Lad like team up and go
forgot
fight.
There's a
Aqua.
character I felt like
Fight
didn't
some
have any
people.
reason to be in the show, especially
Aqualad.
since he showed up in 2 episodes.
Well, what I never understood is why only Aqualad and Speedy. Why not? Where was Superboy? Where was Kid Flash?
I like how they conveniently ignored the fact that Speedy was a heroin addict.
I'm gonna ignore that. Well, actually, he is in the comics. Speedy is a disturbing, depressing character.
That was he's a heroin addict. I didn't just make that up.
He is.
All right. Well, We do have to move on as much as I love Teen Titans. So the next thing I have on my list is the Clone Wars show. And for those of you listening, this is the 2003 Clone Wars show, the 2D one by Genndy Tartakovsky, not the current 3D animated Clone Wars show that's running now that Chris mentioned earlier.
Now, it goes without saying this short series is awesome.
Oh,
Pretty
so
much.
amazing.
It's the
Mace
only time. It
Windu.
shows the only time that General Grievous is competent on screen,
And he's
even though
really competent.
The only problem. Oh no, I take that back. Actually, some of the Clone Wars episodes, they actually show him murdering people, which is it. But I think the biggest problem though for poor Grievous is that even when he's being competent, everyone has to make him look like a loser,
Yeah.
and it's always depressing too because he's awesome.
He's a cool villain. I liked him better than Dooku.
Dooku wasn't a bad villain. The problem is that Dooku is never really well.
Dooku never really did anything.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's sort of more of the political leader than
know,
anything
but-
else.
Yeah, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I think I think the biggest problem with Dooku is that they never really build him up at all. He just kind of exists.
He was just kind of there because they needed Sith.
Pretty much. I watched the show like just a little bit, like I might have seen it on TV once or twice when I was young, but I was actually recently I went on YouTube and somebody had posted like both seasons, like an hour long, just YouTube blocks, and I had just rewatched the whole thing because it's only 2 seasons long, and because it's this mini series, it only takes 2 hours to watch the whole thing, and I was genuinely impressed like with how good it was.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying I'm not even remotely saying it's bad. I'm just always really disappointed that anytime they put General Grievous in something, they're not happy until they make him look bad.
Which is sad because I like Grievous.
I mean, Grievous is a cool design, and I know you seem to think that he doesn't. I mean, he doesn't do a lot in episode 3, but I think he does enough to make him seem pretty cool.
I know he gets beaten up, he runs away, and then he gets beaten up and dies.
Yeah, basically. Which is sad because they built him up so much in this clone. Because I remember watching, because I had to watch every one of these Clone Wars episodes when they came out. Because that was back when I was like, episode 3 is coming out. I need to know what's going on. And that they do the whole Battle of Coruscant in the 2nd season, which I loved. Mm-hmm. And I think Grievous did a good job in that.
No, he did a good job there,
somebody that
but then they made
wielded
him look like a
lightsabers.
sucker again later.
Yeah, and then Mace Windu crushes his chest, and he's got this cough and limp for like all of
And it's
episode
like,
3.
Right. Oh, what were you saying, Chris?
For somebody that wields lightsabers who doesn't have the Force and isn't an ambient person or creature, I guess, he does pretty well.
Wait, what was that word you used?
Does pretty well.
I call him a creature because he has.
He is a
Almost.
cyborg.
Yeah.
He's a cyborg.
Straight up
He is.
cyborg.
Yeah,
Yep.
he is in fact a cyborg. Because I always love that question. Why didn't they make 10 General Grievouses? And I said that's because he's a cyborg. He's not.
Because when he shot him and he opened up his rib cage, there was actual flesh there.
Well,
Yeah, that
there
was
was
what was
organs.
left of him.
Or when you see his eyes, you see their actual flesh eyes.
That too.
Yeah, but with this show, like we only watched a couple of the little 10-minute episodes, but I remember one of my favorites is the one with Mace Windu, where he just takes out like thousands upon thousands of droids. And how I've heard it explained is because you see that little kid up on top of the cliff, and so like this is what he sees of Mace Windu fighting. So in reality, he might have only taken out 24 battle droids, but they just make it look like he was this one-man army destroying millions. Because
I don't know because that is Mace Windu. It could totally be that.
I mean, they could justify it, but the thing is, like, within the various different Star Wars, basically, like, universes, whether you're talking about the books or the comics or the TV shows or the movies, like, in the movies themselves, the Jedi aren't the type that have these amazing force powers that can, destroy planets and cut down people, thousands of people with their lightsabers.
that is because most of the
Technically, they
Jedi
can.
suck.
Yeah, technically they have like I've seen some where they can dash really quickly. Just hold the lightsaber out and dash straight across all of them.
Yeah, well, I mean, part of it is...
They have the Force, they can use it. Some people just choose literally not to use it. Like some fights, they just don't use it at all.
We have magical powers and a glow rod. I wonder which one
rod.
I'm going to use more.
The glow rod.
Exactly.
I feel like that's an easy answer.
I mean, even what is it? I know this is a poor explanation, but what is it? The Apprentice in the video games was said that he had the highest level of Force that anyone has ever seen.
Dare say
And yet-
the word.
What?
Oh, thank God. He said the highest level, and I'm like, no, you dare not. You don't. No.
Midi-chlorians.
Screw you. Don't you dare say
Midi-chlorians,
dirty
midi-chlorians,
word.
middle
Well,
He
I-
was the most powerful,
dirty
and
word.
yet basically he There's the only one that actually used the Force to an extent. Then again, it is a video game. However,
Actually, it's not 100% true. Go back and play Knights of the Old Republic, and I guarantee you'll prefer Force powers to just hitting people because Force powers are hilarious.
well, in
Yeah,
video
the
games, the
question
Force
Revan,
powers
though.
are better. But like in the actual shows,
Well, yeah,
no
that's one ever
'cause he
uses the
plays
Force.
I don't know why.
or just play as the Exile,
Or the Exile.
Just
Both
spam
of them.
Force Storm every 5
Both
feet.
of them.
No enemies anywhere nearby. Force Storm.
Pretty much. And with this show, I really loved. Well, the Mace Windu episode was great. There was one where Anakin fights Asajj Ventress, and it's like
was
just
cool.
it's completely silent basically throughout most of the fight, but it's just really well animated. And I think the nice thing about the 2D show versus because what I've seen of the 3D one is with 2D, they're just able to give it a sort of scope, that's easier to do with 2D than it is with 3D. Not so much with like characters, because I know in like the 3D show they have like dozens upon dozens of droids and stuff like as character models and have these big battles and things. But like in the in that episode, like he and Asajj Ventress are like jumping hundreds of feet in the air, across these treetops, or in the Mace Windu episode he's fighting off thousands of droids, like just being able to draw that in 2D, versus having to render all of it in 3D, it gives you a certain freedom with accomplishing that.
Ooh. Okay, so my two favorite episodes from this was the one. First off, the one when the clone troopers go into the city and just go through it.
It's the first time that the clone troopers aren't shown being completely incompetent
Yes,
ever.
the commandos.
The clone
and
troopers
like,
do the
Commando-
most work in the 3D version.
Oh yeah, the clone troopers in the 3D version are awesome.
Oh yes,
Commander Cody
Commander Cody.
and his Rocketeers.
And then I love Dirge. I thought he was a cool
Dirge is
guy.
awesome. Dirge, I swear to God, he's the only person in the entire Star Wars universe that knows what a solid projectile weapon is.
Yes.
The only one.
Yeah.
I love Dirge, and I still think Dirge should have come back to life, because if you watch the episode where Obi-Wan beats him, at the end, the little squid bits of him are actually crawling away. I'm like, he's the only one, because Asajj comes back in the 3D one, and she has like
Asajj comes back like
In the 3D one, though, she's like a very different character. Like, there's this whole bit where she's working with Dooku, and then Palpatine orders Dooku to betray her, and so she almost gets killed by him, and then she goes and hangs out with the Dathomir witches,
the Night Sisters.
I have
Yeah,
a
the Night
question.
Sisters, and she trains under their arts and like fights against Dooku and all this stuff.
Can we establish something? Which one of these two shows is canon?
Technically, they both are.
Well, the new Clone Wars show is more canon, like
More
higher
canon.
canon, because George Lucas was directly involved with writing a lot of the scripts and coming up with a lot of the stories. So
Hey now. A lot of it's actually pretty good.
I'm not denying that. I'm just saying that I like this 2D show, and this was like the show for episodes between 2 and 3.
right, and I will say one thing that really surprised me, having not seen it, was there's that bit in season 2 where Anakin goes on his little quest on the alien planet, and most of that I really didn't care for because
Yeah, I
the
didn't
aliens
really.
are a little weird. But there's one bit where he's in like a mystical cave that's very reminiscent of the one from episode 5.
Yes.
The cave, if nobody knows what the hell is going on,
basically,
But,
and
just like the swamp of
it's just this little.
with the magical iguana.
It's actually really coolly animated with like it's like a cave
Okay,
painting is
wow.
coming to life, and like there's a guy who like gets this thing on his arm, and he uses it to beat various monsters, and each time he does it, it grows bigger, and he keeps on doing that over and over until like it grows so huge it starts devouring all of like the people around him, including like his lover and all of this.
Almost like it's foreshadowing his eventual fall to the dark side with the symbolism of him losing his arm. Oh, it's crazy.
Exactly.
I'm not gonna lie though. Do you know what I think would have been really, really interesting though? Like from episode 2 to episode 3, we find out. This is something I was always hoping for. We find out that Anakin actually never fell to the dark side in episode 3, and it was actually someone else entirely.
What?
Just
That would defeat like all of the ending of episode 6.
no,
and-
he overcomes his darkness, and then he gets killed off by this new guy who's replacing him.
So Obi-Wan really didn't lie to Luke when he said Darth Vader betrayed and murdered your father.
That would have been more interesting.
well,
But then it
What-
defeats most of 6.
exactly, it would ruin the beautiful ending of,
You just
of
killed-
6.
Not only did we just have now we just have bad movies, but now we have bad movies that killed that directly contradicted and killed episode 6.
Here's another idea. what if, and just bear with me here.
Here we go.
Right.
Since cloning is obviously a kind of a big deal in the Star Wars universe, what if they cloned Anakin, and then as he dies, because Palpatine betrays him, since Palpatine apparently knows how to force people's spirits to go where he wants them to go,
He does apparently have that power.
he does. He really does. I'm not making that up. He does. He forced Anakin into the robot body of Darth Vader.
Yeah.
So he really is more machine now than man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but within, I don't know how all
Okay,
this...
of course, I'm pulling this right on my backside.
I
but
would-
I'm like,
Twilight Zone.
I'm gonna go ahead and say that if that was the actual plot twist, most people would have hated that.
you mean like, but you, so they would have hated it as much as, I hate you. I hate you.
Well, how do you expect him to react?
But yeah, no,
after
I'm totally pulling this out of my backside. I'm making this up on the fly. Of course, it's bad.
How do you expect him to react after Obi-Wan cuts off his arms and both of his legs?
And then he just caught on fire. I mean,
He's a giant. He doesn't have to act like a giant wiener about it because Darth Vader comes off as this
He's now
terrifying,
a
stoic monster.
He's a paraplegic, and he just was on fire. I think he's a little bit
oh,
angry.
wow.
I mean, that's the thing. When you really look at him, like, he's not, the all-powerful badass, that he sometimes appears to be. He's really just a tortured wreck of a man. That's
think
what
that's the point.
that's what they show in 6 when he takes the mask off, and it's just this bald, aged old man guy.
That was supposed to be the point of him. He was not supposed to. That was all a facade. He really was just this terribly broken and beaten down man
And
that could never rise up.
That's fine, but he didn't also have to be whiny. I think that's my ultimately my problem.
Well, yeah, probably. He could have been less whiny, but
Because even in episode 2, he was really whiny.
yes, he was really whiny in episode 2. But at least
Oh, boo-hoo. Everything's not going my way.
Anakin was whiny?
Yes.
He was whiny in 2 and 3.
Yeah,
we get that.
That's all he does is whine.
We got that.
Not all he does, but
He kills people.
That's
too.
all I
Sorry,
remember.
He kills
he
a bunch
does
of
that
people.
and he sleeps with Padme.
He kills
sleeps
people.
with Padme.
Maybe
He kills
sleeps-
kids.
I'm
kills
still
kids
not
and
He
kills
entirely,
whines and kills kids.
I'm
He
still
kills
not
the
entirely
separatists.
convinced that
The what?
that he's
separatists?
actually Luke's
Oh,
father.
the separatists.
totally
How
murders
much
all of them.
older is Padme than Anakin?
Was it 7
5
or 8?
years.
No, 7 years.
5
No,
years.
she was 14
Yeah,
in
she-
episode 1.
and he was 9, so it's 5 years.
Yeah, you're
Okay.
right.
Which is, I don't know how their government system works, but a 14-year-old is apparently the queen of their bloody city.
She was
So
14.
Well,
And apparently
actually,
she was-
What?
The Darth Plagueis book actually goes into exactly why basically Palpatine tried to entice her parents to make her the new queen as the king was basically being ousted by the new political party, or some stuff of his got exposed, like crime things that he'd done, and he had to leave the planet.
why do they want her to be queen?
Well, Palpatine wanted that because
she's easy to control.
because he thought she'd be easy to manipulate, and she wouldn't be the best leader.
Fair enough.
So there you go. All right. Moving on real quick to Megas XLR, which is a show that Jeremy in particular has been advocating for us to watch for quite some time.
Good show.
I've literally only seen that first episode, which is what we watched in Jeremy's room. And I mean, it's promising. I would like to watch more of it.
It gets
Watch it.
better.
Do it. Did it ever have an ending?
Yes, they did.
Because I never watched the ending.
The ending was open enough that they could have done a 3rd season, but they never got called back for a 3rd season.
that's
but
sad.
it's still a good ending in and of itself.
I thought there were only 13 episodes, so there's
Yeah,
a
there's
second
more than
season.
that.
yeah,
Okay,
and it's all really good.
right. I guess on iTunes they just have the first season. I guess.
Like the voice acting is astoundingly good. Let's see here. Jamie is Steve Blum.
All right.
He's in everything.
He really. It's like they could not have cast him any better than Steve Blum as Jamie, just because it's so funny. Just listening to him being this cowardly, whiny little guy.
He is definitely
Pretty
that.
much. I mean, the animation wasn't super impressive as far as like the fight scenes and things are concerned, but the writing was really brilliant, and the comedic timing of it all is good.
It was really brilliant. It was cleverly written.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting. You said that it was an inspiration to the makers of Cowboy Bebop, didn't you
Gurren
say?
Lagann
Or
is
Gurren Lagann, yeah, because that makes more sense.
That's what I've heard.
Actually, that does make sense. Maybe that's why I like Gurren Lagann so much.
There you go. Clara, did you watch this show at all when you were younger?
I don't think I did. I don't have any memory of it. I mean, I don't think if I saw it, it wasn't something that really got my interest. I don't know.
So far, listeners, I'd like to let you all know this episode has been Jeremy relives his childhood.
Yeah, I
It's
watched
true.
most of the same stuff.
You got a lot of the shows you wanted on this list.
Yes, I did.
I
always get what I want.
I didn't watch it much as a kid either. I do remember just seeing it like on Toonami, this half an hour
missed out,
block.
bro.
You really did.
I guess
Like
I
I've
did.
never been a fan of like giant robot shows. Like I don't like Transformers. I don't like.
See,
I never liked Power
like Transformers,
Rangers.
I hate
See,
Mech
you missed out on Megas and you missed out on Zoids.
Zoids
Zoids.
was great.
It wasn't my thing. I
We should
liked
watch Zoids.
Pokemon.
Every time I say Zoids, everyone just turns around. I remember that show.
I
Except for
don't.
me.
I'm not a huge mech person, but
Really?
Zoids kept me interested. Gundam, not so much.
see, I watched
Problem with
Gundam.
Gundam was just poorly written for the most
Gundam was
part.
poorly written, but there were giant robots fighting. Literally, as a kid, all I wanted was giant robots to fight, and
They
watched
did it.
every show. I watched Transformers Armada a lot, which was my favorite Transformers, up until Starscream fell in love with a human chick. That was weird.
What?
Yeah, that happens.
That's a little weird.
Wait, Armada, was that the one with the mini-cons?
Yes,
I thought it was.
I love that one. I know people are like, nah, that one was alright. I'm like, I love that one.
I was actually a bigger fan of Beast Wars.
See, I wasn't.
Truck, not monkey.
I jumped
What's
on Beast Wars near the
Is
end.
that where they all turn into animals?
Yes.
Was
on
there
Netflix.
one called
Watch that one.
Snarl?
Yes.
And he's a wolf.
I think so, yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah. This is the only one I remember.
Chris and
all
his
the giant
wolves.
robots.
There's
What?
also Dinobot.
You and your wolves.
I know.
I think the biggest problem, though, I had with Armada
blue,
was
I
that it
think.
did not
Blue with
have
gold.
the Dinobots in it.
Yeah, it
Be
did.
Grimlock!
Yeah, it really didn't, which was kind of sad. But beyond that, I loved Armada.
And Grimlock, I'm going to say this right now, was the best Transformer ever because he was the only person who could go toe-to-toe with Optimus Prime and Megatron and come out on top.
That's impressive.
That is impressive.
And he was dumber than a box of rocks.
Moving on to the next show we have on the list, we have Samurai Jack, which is perhaps the only show on this list that Jeremy wanted to do more than Megas XLR.
That's because Samurai Jack, I will argue, may have been the best show of my childhood. Well, it may not have been. It was very, very. It was definitely. It's honestly, it's tied between that and Batman the Animated Series, between the two best of my childhood.
Now you're making me think, what's the favorite of my childhood? I mean, Teen Titans is probably up there.
Pokemon.
Avatar.
Teen Titans was
Digimon.
good, but it never got anywhere near Batman or Samurai Jack. Just because, first off, they told a much more interesting story than Teen Titans isn't boring, but the story is so much better in
In Samurai Jack.
Yes.
And Batman.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I watched a little bit of Samurai Jack, like an episode here or there, and I remember being more interested in the like they had a flash game of it on CartoonNetwork.com that I played a bunch when I was younger. I love that. But I'd never actually seen the pilot episode, and it is very impressive, like just how epic in scope it is. You know, Tartakovsky seems to be pretty adept
I'm
at
going
that.
to say this right now. Every scene with Aku is my favorite scene in the series.
Because he's voiced
He
by
is
General
Uncle-
Uncle Iroh.
He's also just awesome. He's just a really cool
Jasmine
character.
tea.
I just love the fact that they knew that he was gonna be hammy as all get out, so they just made him as hammy as possible. Just made
Yes.
every scene with him ridiculous and over the top, and it worked perfectly.
He was but he's just such a cool character.
There's also I can't remember what episode it was. There's actually a scene of him ordering pizza.
Really?
Literally, he just talks on a
think-
phone.
I think I remember that.
It's so funny. Just
That's great, man. And I just love like how this seems to be true both with Samurai Jack and with the Clone Wars, since they're done by the same guy. You know, they're very non-dialogue heavy. You know, it's much more told through visuals than it is through lots of people talking, which is a nice refresher. You know, from something even like Batman the Animated Series. You know, that's very dependent on the writing, or Teen Titans or something like that.
that give some credit though to Batman though. Batman is not only visual. It's not just dialogue impressive, but it's also visually very impressive. It's also,
So is Teen Titans, you know, so is like Avatar and lots of other shows that we love. But Samurai Jack manages to have
manages
very
to-
little dialogue and still be great.
But what dialogue there is actually really good.
yeah.
Pretty much every scene with the Scotsman is pure gold. The Scotsman was my second favorite character in the show.
I see. Just wondering, I guess spoilers for anybody who actually wants to rewatch Samurai Jack.
Watch it for the first
How
time.
does it like? Because I know, I think it was Kenny was telling me that there actually is like an ending to it. So does he eventually like get find Aku in the future and beat him and go back to the past and
I didn't think
everything's.
there was an ending. I thought it just got
I
canceled.
actually don't remember there being an ending. I could be wrong, but it's been a while since I watched that far into the series. I actually don't remember.
I don't think there was an ending. I thought it just ended, and it was just like. What?
Because everyone was waiting on the movie and it never got
Yeah.
made. It never will now because Mako is dead.
I know,
Sad.
but it's
Yeah.
sad. But I heard rumors that they're going to try to start up.
Mako is the voice actor for Iroh and also Aku. He actually passed away in the middle of them making Avatar: The Last Airbender.
No.
I think in season 3, Iroh's voiced by somebody completely different because they had to find a replacement.
Sad.
Yeah, it is sad.
Fun fact: Mako is also in Conan the Destroyer.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, that's right. I saw the
plays the-
Nostalgia Critic
It's-
review.
He doesn't do that. He doesn't do it enough justice. That movie is really funny.
Yeah. Real quick, since we're running a little long here, let's just give our quick thoughts on some of these other shows that we didn't actually watch in Jeremy's room, since we don't have as much to say about them. We've got Dexter's Lab on here.
Good show. Should have ran longer. I think the writer's explanation for what the show actually was doesn't work. I think it should have just stayed the way it was.
What's the explanation?
That Dexter is actually autistic. He and Mandark are autistic children, and him in the episode where he's all acting crazy and when he kisses the butt of that duck, which is like the only way I can say the episode that people actually remember it.
Oh, yeah.
But like, that's actually him in real life. Like, that's who he really is. But then he thinks he's this scientist and his lab doesn't actually
That's
exist.
sad. I don't want it to
depressing.
believe that.
So, yeah, see, I don't like that. I think I was happier with him actually just being a genius. I was happy with that. I was happy with that level of ridiculousness.
How old was he actually? Because I remember, like, they got him as a baby, and he was just instantly a genius. And then
Yes, I do
How
remember
old
that
is he? Like
episode.
Actually got
6?
shorter as the show went on.
Yeah,
if
he
you
did
watch
get
it,
shorter.
he got shorter.
How old is he?
I have no idea.
Probably like
8.
6 to 10,
I know
somewhere in that range.
Then there's an episode where he goes to college.
Yeah, yeah,
Really?
I remember that.
Nice.
And they all party and party, and by the time he's finally ready to party, it's like midterms, and everybody's studying.
Nice. Chris, did you watch any of Dexter's Lab?
I did.
And what did you think of it?
I liked it a lot, actually. When I was younger, it was one of the shows that I actually thought was interesting.
Yeah, I wasn't like a big fan of it, but I watched it sort of like we said before. I watched it when it was on. I do remember really loving Mandark as a villain just because of his. Yes, that.
Oh,
Yes,
the,
that.
The
Remember the
episode
episode?
when it was
Oh.
all of his little laugh thing, but with random objects, like him brushing his teeth
Yes.
and
Brush
Oh,
for
yes.
brush, brush for brush for brush.
That's right. I think that's the episode where it's just like him basically getting prepped to go
Yeah.
like do something at Dexter's lab, and then Dexter's like leaving with his dad to go somewhere, and
Yeah.
he's just like so disappointed.
yeah. What was his name originally? It was like Susan.
Yeah, it was Sue.
Yeah.
Oh,
A boy
that's
named
right.
Sue.
Yeah.
Ah, see,
But
I
also,
did that.
I think the best part was the show the fact that Mandark was evil was totally because of Dexter. 'Cause-
Oh, that's right. Because wasn't he like a jerk to him when they were
Yes.
younger?
And then he
Yeah.
literally gives himself a bowl cut,
With the chip in the bowl.
which is why his haircut is so terrible.
I love that.
Because
Nice.
his parents are hippies.
All right, so let's. Oh, I do remember that. Let's move on to the next thing we have on the list, which is Aladdin, the Disney animated TV show. Probably the best of the film spin-offs.
See,
I would say.
I don't know. Maybe Timon and Pumbaa was really good too.
Actually, I think that was the funniest.
I
I
liked
like that
it.
one.
It was funnier. Aladdin was more dramatic.
I think the problem with Aladdin though is that it was definitely very. It wasn't. I wouldn't say it was cheap, but it was definitely cheap.
Well, yeah, I mean, like apparently the direct to DVD or VHS movies that like came out for Aladdin were done by the TV animated studio, not by the main Disney animation.
I thought Return of Jafar was in theaters.
Maybe it was.
think so.
I don't remember. Return
know.
of Jafar isn't that good.
No, it's
Jafar
not.
scared
I
me
like-
when I was little.
I like the King of Thieves one though. My grandma owned that one. We watched it all the time. That one's actually good. But you say you mentioning the Disney TV shows. I remember the Tarzan show actually being pretty good too.
The problem I had with the Tarzan show was the same problem I had with the Tarzan movie. It was boring.
I liked the I watched the Tarzan one more than I did
I got bored
Aladdin.
with the movie for Tarzan, but I still liked it.
It didn't help
when I
that
was
Phil
younger.
Collins was singing there too.
See, I actually
I like
I
Phil
like
Collins.
Phil
it's
Collins
not that I
in
don't
that.
like Phil Collins. But the problem is with Phil Collins is
He
that
won an
he's.
Oscar for that.
I won an Oscar.
Exactly.
No, but yeah. Sorry, I was channeling South Park there.
I know.
But anyway,
I
no.
love it.
It's nothing against Phil Collins. It's not like he's bad or anything, but oh dear God, he is not suited for a Disney movie.
I thought it worked.
I thought it worked. I mean, Tarzan isn't by no means my favorite Disney movie, but it's good.
The fact that I would argue was probably one of the weakest of the animated Disney movies in that time period.
Why is that?
In that time period.
Let's compare it to its contemporaries.
Well, that's
Beauty and the
like-
Beast, Aladdin.
Oh.
Billy, the only movie that was weaker than
Well-
Tarzan was Hercules.
But then you have
I really liked Hercules.
you have the films
Hercules
that
was great.
you have the films that came out afterwards, though. Which
Such as I actually can't think of any. That's the
Uh,
problem. I feel like Tarzan might have been the
was
last
Emperor's
one.
New Groove.
love Emperor's
After
New
that,
Groove.
Emperor's New Groove was spectacular.
I
No.
love
Cusco.
Emperor's New Groove.
no, I love that one too. And Lilo,
Cusco is the best
Look-
Disney
Spades.
Lilo and
princess.
Stitch. Lilo and Stitch. No, actually, no. Lilo and Stitch might have been the last one for a very long time.
yeah, Lilo and Stitch was good. So I guess that's actually in the area where their animated films were still pretty good. Then we get into the mid 2000s and they start trying 3D with like Chicken Little and things like that.
God, let's not talk about that.
Yes, the dark times.
Moving on.
Thankfully, they've recovered. Anybody who hasn't seen Wreck-It Ralph yet has to.
Watch it
That was-
now.
That was
I
before
know,
the dark
I need to get
times,
on it.
before
Jeremy.
the Empire.
Moving on, we also have the
Now.
show Kim Possible,
Yes.
which we did not watch in Jeremy's room, but I posted the link to the first episode online. Rewatching it, I thought one thing that struck me as kind of funny was you can always a perfect way to tell when you're watching a 90s show is when they talk about a VHS tape and they're not joking because they did that on that episode.
You don't understand how much I obsessed over Kim Possible when I was little. I drew pictures, put them all over my walls. It was it was like the most obsessed I've ever got over anything besides Pokemon.
Everyone else find it funny the communicator was essentially a smartphone.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
it was.
Oh yeah.
Boop, 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 doop.
Except it's more of a PDA.
No, it was definitely more of a smartphone because
Well, it had video chat, I guess. so.
it had internet access.
Wayne was, and they never saw Wayne in real life.
No,
Actually, no, he was.
Except for like that one time when
there
they
was-
went into the future and he was super
No,
buff.
no, there was actually another episode they
Really?
actually met him in real
yeah,
life.
Yeah, I remember it because he gets hacked or something, and then he shows up like in real life to like save the day at the very end.
Oh, I never saw that one.
Yeah.
Sad.
But the writing in it was actually pretty good, I have to say.
I would say like right up in like I would say like everything up to and including the movie was well written, but everything past that.
Now, which movie? Because actually, I think that there are two that I can think of.
The
There's-
first one, the one they go into the future.
See, I actually like
And
that
then
movie.
No,
Ron
I said
and Kim
everything up until
actually
that.
become a couple, and it was cute.
Yeah, everything. No, I said everything up to and including that movie was pretty good, and everything past that was
Yeah, there was a second movie where like Draken.
Aliens.
Well, I have heard about that one. I'm thinking about one. It's like Draken has like these little toys that turn into like giant robots, and there's also this whole subplot with this boy that comes to Kim Possible's school, and she falls in love with him, but it turns out he's evil.
I
And,
don't know what you're talking about.
Well, it exists. It's out there.
I'll take your word for it.
The thing I really remember about that show was I loved Ron just as a character and Rufus, the naked mole rat.
The problem with Rufus is that for every episode that he was like, I liked him. There was an episode it's like, oh god, someone kill that little abomination.
No, I liked him.
Do you remember when, like, I think it was in the movie when Ron first got him, he was this little tiny gross thing, and it was so
yeah.
I'd like to point out
weird.
that Rufus has to be at least 7 or 8 years old.
Yeah.
Like he literally has to be ancient for a rat.
For a rat. Well, he's obviously way more intelligent than any rat in real life. So
The fact that it can talk.
Sometimes.
well,
Only
sort
sometimes.
of, yeah, half talk.
Yeah. It's cute.
I don't know, Andrew. Did you watch that show at all?
A little bit. Like I watched it whenever it was on, but I wasn't like an adamant watcher of that show, so I only have vague memories of that show. Because it was alright. I didn't watch Disney like a ton as a kid because I was always on Cartoon Network
Yeah,
or Nickelodeon.
it's because I'll be totally frank with you. Most of the Disney animation when we were kids, once they stopped doing the Disney movie animations, it was pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean there was a few shows I watched on Disney like Gargoyles. Anybody remember that?
Oh
I
yeah,
remember that.
It was like
Xanatos.
yeah.
I don't remember
his
that.
Gambit. Though. If you read TV
Xanatos
tropes,
Gambit.
I
Yes.
love that.
Yeah, I never watched Gargoyles much, but I've heard that it's like up there with Batman as far as being a really cool, dark animated show.
I remember it, but
You're
I
missing out
don't
if you haven't
remember
seen it.
Shoot, there was something. Oh, I was gonna say off of what you were saying. I also didn't watch it like adamantly. It was more that my sisters were really big into it. And I think it is probably it's significant in that it's got a main character who's a girl and kicks butt and isn't all into like fashion and boys and the stereotypical things that you'd associate with a female.
Even though she's a cheerleader.
Oh, right. You do get that. But, I think it is should be commended, for making a show that with a female protagonist that appeals to both boys and girls. So good on them for that. Let's see. We've got just one more since we took out Johnny Bravo, and that's Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. I love that theme.
Me too.
It's a great little opening. And we watched the movie that started off the TV show. And the thing that struck me about it was in the movie, like Blue is actually like really nice, but in the TV show he's like a jerk and really egotistical and selfish.
That was the problem with the show. Everything about the show was great except for Blue.
I didn't like Blue at all. I didn't
Blue.
like
I thought he was
Blue.
funny.
The problem is that for every episode where Blue was an interesting and engaging character, there were 3 where I just kind of wanted to hold his little blue head underwater until the bubbles stopped coming up.
See,
When you say I'm crazy,
it was sort of an on and off.
You are. I'm just a sociopath.
I'm not crazy.
It was an on and off thing for me. Like one episode, I loved Blue because he said something really funny, and then the next, he's sort of annoying.
Like how mean he treated Wilt most of the time.
Poor
It's
Wilt.
like, why Wilt? Why would you pick on him of every character?
Pick on Coco.
Pick on Coco or pick on
Coco will dish it back at him.
pick on Coco or better yet, pick on Jackie Legs,
Jackie Legs.
the green guy with the eyeball.
Oh yeah.
Oh, is that his name?
Yes.
Okay, he's
Pick on
hilarious.
anyone else,
Do
but
you
not
remember,
Wilt. Wilt is the nicest guy in Foster's. Everyone loves Wilt. Why would you pick on him?
Do you remember the episode where it was that? I think she was pink of some sort, but she had a huge crush on Blue.
Barry.
Yeah, Barry, the crazy little thing.
That was a
was
creepy episode.
creepy.
I don't remember that
I actually
one.
think that was the 3rd episode.
It was
it
creepy.
really?
I do remember. Do you guys remember the episode where Mac gets like crazy on sugar and starts
Yes.
like running around
There's
Foster's?
a couple. Yes, it was the
Insanely.
party episode. Sugar.
Remember
Pretty
the
much.
episode when Mac and everyone fell in love with Frankie? I liked that episode
Oh,
a
yeah,
lot.
that was good.
It was so silly.
yeah,
Like
that-
the pizza guy, the
and-
night.
And then I understand, like, I never watched Foster's. I watched it quite a bit. Once again, I never really followed like any specific show except maybe for Avatar. But I know that like within the people who like Foster's, like the fans, everybody seems to adore Cheese as a character.
Yeah.
I didn't
Cheese
like
was
him.
good in one episode, and that was the episode
See,
he appeared in. The
Yeah.
only time I like Cheese.
I have to agree because I was irritated with Cheese in like the later episodes they tried to use him.
And
I'm
that
like, I don't
there was
like
that
him.
one episode where they're destroying Foster's. That one, oh man, that was uncomfortable.
But
Oh,
it was
actually-
a Lord of the Rings one.
I think I might know the one you're talking about. I remember it being kind of funny because like, was it Blue wants to actually get punished by Mr. Harriman because he doesn't want to go to dinner because they're serving something terrible, and so he keeps on doing things to, like try to.
Yes.
To get him to like punish him, but Mr. Harriman's like focused on trying to find like this culprit of some other sort, and everything Blue does.
Because he had the carrot obsession, and he was trying to hide that. And
That's
and-
what it was. And it ended with like Blue with like a wrecking ball, and he's literally like wrecking a room in Foster's, and it still doesn't get Mr. Harriman to do anything.
There was the episode where they all got locked out because Mr. Harriman with
That's the one episode I was
security
thinking of
code.
with Cheese. Oh god, that was such a bad episode.
That like
Oh, it was bad.
as soon as he turned around, closed his eyes, and started pushing buttons, I'm like, this cannot end well in the least.
And the fact that Cheese.
Showed up.
Here's something though that always really made me uncomfortable about Cheese, and unfortunately, images exist of this. Imagine if the characters in Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends looked more realistic.
No.
Now imagine
Nope.
Cheese.
No.
Nope.
No.
There are
Just
pictures of
refuse.
this too.
I just
No.
refuse.
It's just like real life Kirby.
Yep.
No.
Refusing.
But and one other thing I want to mention was I think it's like what they did another little spin-off movie where it's all about like Wilt's backstory and like he runs
Will-
away.
Good Will Hunting.
And he's actually Good Will Hunting, and we find out that he's actually Michael
so many
Jordan's
movie
kid.
parodies.
Yeah,
in
like
that show.
I forgot. I knew he was like a basketball kid's, or he was created for basketball. I forgot that it was Michael Jordan, which is like
Excuse
pretty
me.
cool.
And then
Jordan
there's that.
Michael is what they called him.
Oh,
And then there
real
was
clever.
that jerky imaginary friend that other kid made that almost destroyed Wilt
Oh yes,
completely.
the one who's even like twice as tall as he is,
Yeah. Just made specifically to destroy everything.
pretty much.
Poor Wilt.
So, yeah, and then apparently when we were debating to watch the episodes, I saw on YouTube there was an episode called like Goodbye Blue or something like that. That's apparently like the last episode. I have no idea what's in it because I don't think I ever saw the season
I never
finale.
saw
I
it.
never saw it.
So, but that's saying Goodbye Blue. That sounds kind of sad. So I'm not sure if I should watch it or not.
We're just
depressing.
not gonna watch it. We're just
Sounds
not.
like it'd be depressing.
Yeah. All right. So thank you guys for sticking around and listening to our long conversation about all of these shows. Hopefully it was a good time. I enjoyed, being a bit nostalgic. Like, I think overall sort of thoughts, like, most of these shows, the ones that we chose here are all pretty darn good. Not like some of the others, like, Pokemon that maybe are a bit harder to go back and rewatch, or Digimon, things like that.
I love Digimon.
I love Digimon too, but you have to admit some of the episodes not so good. And so certainly some things we rewatch now, and it's like, oh, I forgot how annoying that character was. That we may not have noticed when we were kids. But overall, I think they're still all genuinely good shows.
I don't know if it was anyone else but me noticed, but like the lack of what really happened in the first episode. Like, I know it's like first episodes, but I mean, even like it just seems like now the shows nowadays try to pack so much into an episode. It felt like it was lacking almost. Like, I was watching this and I'm like, why isn't anything happening? Like, nothing's happening. What's going on? Why is this so like not? I don't know. I don't exactly know how to describe the feeling, but it just felt like there wasn't enough.
I think it depends. Like the Jackie Chan episode, like a lot's going on
Right,
there.
that
Like,
one-
that's fast paced. The Samurai Jack episode was much slower because it was just showing him training, and like telling this really epic story over a 25-minute period.
That was the thing though with the Jackie Chan series, that they didn't really know how long that one was going to last. That's why they tried to do as much as they could with it, and that's compare that to Samurai Jack. I think he was actually promised at least like a season and a half before.
At least that, before the show was.
In Samurai Jack's defense, though, when it originally aired, it was an hour and a half, and there was like 3 episodes in sequential order, and it ended with him fighting this entire army of robot beetles. And
It was 3 episodes long. It was
yeah,
Wow.
So it was like these 3. So we just watched part 1 of the 3-part
I
pilot.
see.
So, and I think what you're saying is, because I think back then they were trying to set up these shows to be more like sitcom-y. And they just have to set up that situation because all sitcoms are about getting back to that norm, where they started again. So I think they were just trying to set that up so that you knew what was going on.
Like, maybe it's just because I'm older. It's like it's kind of redundant, but it was like little kiddish. Like, not a lot happened that would like keep me interested now. And it was weird because I remember as kids, I was like, "Oh my god, this is the best thing ever!" And now it's like, I'm older now. This isn't.
Well, I will say that
work.
the Batman episode that we watched, the first episode, it didn't feel like a first episode to me. It felt like it was sort of an end media res thing where we're just being thrown into, the middle of a Batman story, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but at the same time, I liked it. Like in Kim Possible, when I watched that episode, like a lot actually happens. They introduce, Kim and Ron and Rufus and her parents, and then also Shigo and Draken, and like so all of the main characters basically. So
Was
that's how
Danny Phantom in the 2000s?
It was later than.
it was a little later. I liked that show
Me
a bit
too.
too. It got a little weird near the end
A
though.
little.
Yeah, a little. So real quick, I want to have a quick discussion on what to talk about next time because we have Thanksgiving break next week, so we won't actually be here to do a podcast. So the next one we'll be in 2 weeks.
Skype us in.
No, I'm not going to deal with that technical mess.
Yes, you are.
So the options are either A, we watch a 13 episode show on Hulu or on some sort of video streaming site that we can all watch over the break, or B, we plan to just watch a movie in Jeremy's room or Matt's room or something before this weekend, and then we just talk about it when we come back from the break. I did get the movie Summer Wars from the library, and it's a very good movie, so that's a possibility. As far as TV shows, Matt has been recommending the show Angel Beats to me.
Oh my gosh, we should totally watch that.
He says it's pretty good.
Oh my gosh.
And there's also a show I've been wanting to watch. It's called Kids on the Slope, and it's directed by Shinichiro Watanabe, the guy behind Cowboy Bebop. The music's done by Yoko Kanno, who did the music in Bebop. And it's a show about high school students who play jazz. So just the combination of all those things makes it sound really good.
Jeremy's
You
face.
see this face, Alex?
Yes.
This is not a happy face.
Why not?
I see a show on here, and I have to know what would possess you, what dark evil force would possess you to put this on this list.
And what show is that?
Take one guess.
I don't know. I literally went through here and just put Oh, I see the show you're talking about. Jeremy's favorite show that he talked about last time, Casher's Sins. I was literally just going through the.
Stand still, Alex. This will be quick.
I was basically going through Hulu and YouTube and seeing like what shows are available for streaming. So I basically just put down all the ones I recognized. Casher's Sins being, like I said, I've only seen the first episode. I thought it was interesting, a little slower paced, but according to you, it gets really bad. So I'll cross that off the list.
It is horrible. I would not. This isn't even like the fun bad, like Angel Cop or.
That wasn't
was
even
not
fun.
fun. That was
not
excruciating.
fun.
Sword for Truth was fun.
It was
Or Sword
funny
for
when
Truth.
that lady's face exploded. That was funny.
And I'm the bad one here. But anyway, no.
You're the one who's gonna strangle Alex.
Yes,
Apparently.
but you have no. Like, this is just painfully bad. It's so boring.
We should probably end the podcast now before he starts flipping out any further.
One other thing I actually saw the other day. Has anybody in here besides me seen Hellsing Ultimate before?
I've heard about it. I've heard about Hellsing.
Yeah, it's a bunch of OVAs, so they're like 45, 50 minutes long. I think there's 4 of them were released in English. But there's like 8 in total I saw on Hulu. And so that's another possibility. It's extremely violent show, but it's also very awesome.
I think Kenny saw
This
it.
could be interesting.
Yeah, it's about a basically if you think that Twilight has ruined the reputation of vampires in fiction, watching this show will help redeem vampires for you
All right.
because
I'm in.
Alucard is a bamf in every
I'm in.
sense of the word.
You know what show I don't see on here?
What's that?
Boba Bo 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 Bo.
I think we should watch that one.
I don't know if that is available for streaming. I haven't.
I think
No.
so. I will
I
look
think I
for it.
remember that.
I
it's
will
possible.
look-
No.
I would love that.
I did not. I was not a Bobobo fan.
Neither was I.
I will admit.
I
But
watched
we already
it.
know my
But-
problem.
but,
the last
yes.
episode. Why?
All right.
They did it on
So-
purpose.
I know why.
So real quick. So would you guys rather watch a movie or do the TV show? thing?
Angel Beats.
No.
We can do a show. We got a break. What
Yes.
else are we doing with
Have
our
you even
lives?
seen Angel Beats?
Movie.
No.
Some of
Movie.
it.
It's so
Movie.
good.
Okay, so Chris says movie, Andrew says TV show. You want Angel
Movie.
Beats.
I do.
I personally want to do Kids on the Slope.
What in the heck
Jeremy,
is that?
That's the one I was just talking about by the Cowboy Bebop
I
director.
vote for
about
anything
jazz.
but Angel
Oh.
Beats.
Okay. Anything
You're a
but Angel
jerk.
It's the
Beats.
jazz
Yes,
one.
I am.
Okay.
What do you say?
Anything
I'm
but
not going to
Angel
make you a
Beats.
Pokemon now.
Oh no. All right. So would anybody
It's
be
okay. When I redo my Nuzlocke challenge, I'll make sure that you're either a Rattata or a Caterpie.
That's okay. I'll
Hey,
evolve into something useful then.
Raticate is useful.
Yeah, it is.
Eradicate's useful.
Ha, it can surf.
No, trust me. Eradicate is useful.
I always start with Squirtle.
I think it might be Hyperfang or Superfang, one of the two that just destroys.
All right. So
Huh?
so it sounds like TV show is what people want. Is anybody opposed to Kids on the Slope? I think it's 12 or 13 episodes. It's on Hulu in Japanese because it's actually a recent show. It only came out like last year, so it's
Movie.
got pretty new animation.
All right, I'm fine with that.
Okay,
I
everyone
understand
good
that.
except for Chris, but you don't count because you're outvoted.
You're overruled.
Plus,
It's fine.
It's been
Plus-
revoked.
We'll do Summer
your
Wars
life is just
eventually.
sad anyway, so
Hey,
We've already established
That's
this.
not
We
fair.
need to give you some good TV shows to
Good
watch
Lord.
since apparently you're deprived as a
seriously.
child. All right.
Yeah.
So
I'd rather spend my time playing games than watching TV shows that teach me nothing.
you never know.
they taught you nothing.
You know what? No, I'm not going to take that bait. Let's finish the show, Alex.
Well, you can email us at techheads@abwproductions.com. You can follow us on Twitter at techheadsou, like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on iTunes, give us some good ratings, all that good stuff.
Keep asking Jeremy to get a Twitter.
Yes, we need more fans to
Did you
tell
make,
us.
Did you make a Trello yet?
Trello.
I forgot to
that's
do
right.
that
He
too.
doesn't have Trello.
Yeah. Well, he's going to work on it. He's promised me. So thank you to all of you guys for helping me host this episode today. It went a little long, but I think we got in some good conversation. So hopefully people will enjoy it. And thank you guys out there very much for listening to this episode of Shred Cels. And we will see you guys in 2 weeks.
This product is copyright AVW Productions 2012.